my good God in heaven. It's another week, and we've survived another onslaught of the technical blues here at Technical Alpha, where we are attempting. I think we're good now. I'm gonna click on this. All right, we don't have the weird thing. No, we're good. I think we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, May, what is this, the 12th of May? Is that where we are today? I think it's the 12th of May.
Yep.
The 12th of May, 2017. It was a nice day outside, not that I actually breathed in any of the fresh oxygen beyond my front doorstep, but it looked like it was a nice day out there. And hopefully we can continue this being a lovely day here on Technical Alpha. As you've probably figured out by now, we are short a man today. One sec, let's see here.
Also, I'm not wearing a sports jacket today.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, exactly. This is low key.
Well, I wanted to do it. I did it purposely because it is low key. We don't have like a crazy structure today, so I kind of wanted to be in the mood for just kind of kick back, talk the shit. You know, this is the closest thing to an actual like LAGTV podcast that people are gonna get.
True.
Like right now.
This is very true.
So this is what the podcast will be like if Panic wasn't here. So hopefully you don't like it too much because he might have to can his ass.
Can him. Hashtag fired guy. Did you rehost this, by the way? Now that we're back up and not broken? Okay, good.
I did.
Yeah, we had to do all sorts of weird and wonderful things as we do every single week here. Something always catches fire. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have no script this week. We have absolutely nothing written down on paper.
You know what? I did some jot notes just so that I don't forget some certain points. Like
okay,
they're not topics, but just kind of like you'll see it on the list. They're nothing crazy. Okay. It's kind of all about what we're talking about, but there's no topics. Okay. You know, I just was writing down some things. Yeah.
You're more prepared than I am, anyway. You're more prepared than I am. But yeah, we're winging this bad boy. As we were saying, Panic is not here this week because he is away at another wedding. Apparently, everybody within Panic's family and or circle of friends is getting hitched currently, and so as far as I know, he could, for all we know, still be driving right now because he had to go for quite a spin. To get to where he was going.
I'm such a god that I'm going to Las Vegas July 5th to the 10th.
Okay.
I'm bringing my laptop and I will do the podcast from the hotel room.
You should do the podcast from Celine Dion's concert. Just have Celine in the background the whole time. It would sound like garbage, but hey, it'd be worth. It'd be worth. But yeah, he's off watching somebody else get hitched. I don't even know if it's a family member or a friend this time. I can't remember anymore. But he had to drive a long distance, and he had to leave earlier today to get there in time for what he was needed for at the wedding. So he's gone for the weekend, and hopefully he has a good time. But so you have notes. But before we start with your notes...
I got a little bit.
Before we start with your notes, I want to give a quick shout out to everybody who's gotten us closer to the 75 reviews on iTunes.
Damn!
We are so damn close. We are coming up on it. If I check this right now, if I just click this...
We'll probably be there by the end of this podcast.
Let's see where we're at. If I press that button and we go here, we're at 73.
There you go.
So we are too shy of the 75. And then after that, it's 100. We just got to keep setting goals. But you guys have been awesome in reviewing for us and doing a great job of spreading the word, and continue to do that. People are constantly asking what they can do to help spread awareness of the podcast. And when it comes to podcasts, talk to anyone else that you know of that listens to podcasts and just say, hey, I'm listening to this crazy podcast where three guys attempt to talk about stuff they know about on a weekly basis, and sometimes everything goes wrong, and it's kind of entertaining. It's called Technical Alpha, and that's exactly what we're starting right now. Mr. Black, today we're going to be talking about, I guess, if there was to be any sort of structure today, we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a streamer slash YouTuber?
Content provider.
Content provider. Somebody who generates media content as a means of living, like your main job. And the highs of that, the lows of that, the pluses, the minuses, and our experiences, I guess, over the last several years of putting. Well, we're not quite at several, but we're close. So I'm going to say several anyway.
We're really close.
We're approaching. So we'll talk a bit about that. But is there any way that you wanted to start this whole thing off? Did you have somewhere you wanted to start?
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to let everybody know we're still going to do the tech support as well on the second half, so
yes.
that'll still
course.
happen. We'll still be answering your questions. Might even get to like 3 of them or something, just depending on how long this goes. But we're just going to shoot the shit, right? So I actually just wanted to start off by talking about the retro verses that we've been doing for the Patreons, and we got some feedback from not only the people that are watching it, but the people that cannot watch it because they are not paying for the content. I wanted to bring that up first and foremost. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I want to kind of give our reasoning, and Adam can obviously chime in as well. I know Adam's been kind of talking to a few people in the YouTube comments and stuff, and I've been reading them and stuff like that. But yeah, for those that don't know yet, we have decided to create the LAGTV Versus series that we used to do back in the day, and bring it to the Patreon supporters for $5 and up. Now, we are not releasing these games to the public for everybody to watch for free. There's several reasons why we're not doing that, and we'll get into that. But for those that don't know, what we're doing instead is we're going to my back wall here. Adam comes over once a month. We record at least 2 as of right now. We'll come up with some kind of stretch goal so that we can release them every week. But we're doing a lot already with this podcast, so we're just kind of letting it burn, seeing what people think of it. But we're blindfolded or closing our eyes, and we're just grabbing a game at random. We're playing it until we either rage quit, we're tired of it, whatever. It can be I think each episode was about a half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, we're somewhere around 30, 35 minutes on average. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've been really great. We did Tasmania, the Tasmania Devil game, and then we have like a sports one where Adam and I go up against each other. That's coming out next week. But the main reason why we wanted to, first and foremost, the main reason why we wanted to make it so that you had to pay $5 to watch the content, it wasn't that we were like, hey, let's make content that people want to buy. It was more of how can we give more value to our Patreon supporters, especially at the lower tier, as in $5, $10. People get to do the tech support and get to chime in. But the sweet spot really is the $5, where a lot of people, it's $5. Most people can afford $5, and if they really enjoy the content, they'll chuck it that way. And I think as of right now, before the the retro versus, they were getting like a higher quality version of the podcast, I think, audio wise.
Yeah,
what were the things?
So at what, $10, the big hook at $10 was the other than the differentiation and stickers and stuff, they get the high quality version of the podcast. I think so. It goes from, like, we put out mono audio like every other podcast on the planet is in mono, and the stuff that's on iTunes is 96 kbs. And the stuff that goes up to SoundCloud for those on the $10 tier have access to 160, which is the equivalent in stereo of 320, which is about as close as you can get to lossless audio without spending a shitload of money on audio gear to hear the difference.
Yeah, so we just wanted to add more value to it because we got 167 Patreons on our $5 tier. So we decided to do that. And of course, the people that are 5 and above, they all get access to that content.
They all get it, yeah.
Now, there was 2 reasons. The big one was giving value to that so that the people can get a little bit more for their money. As I even had people come to the stream that are watching it live right now and say, hey, you know, where should I put my $5? Should I sub to this channel, or should I give it to you guys on Patreon? And, you know, before it was kind of like, well, you know, what are you using more? Now there's a definite answer, and now you can get the content as well. Also, on top of that, for those that don't know, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more once we get off this whole subject, I wanted to bring this up because there was a lot of people out there that were like, this is bullshit. You know, not only are we not happy that we can't receive the content, which we totally understand, but also on top of that, we feel like you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot because not as many people are going to notice the LAGTV, the retro versus, when it's you know, hidden behind a paywall, opposed to having it on YouTube where new people can come in and find that content. I don't know if you want to take over on that, Adam, because I know I've been talking a lot, but
yeah,
you can explain it just as good as I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the general sentiment from a couple of people, you know, the ones that got thumbed up, because usually somebody will say something that most people agree with, and then they just don't rewrite it, they give it a thumbs up. So, and I commented on a couple because there was just some stuff that was just completely based on information that doesn't actually exist, which is quite frequent in YouTube comments when people are talking about content creation and the directions of channels and what content creators do and why, and what it means for the channel, and et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted, you know, despite the fact that it always adds another gray hair to my head every time I do that and go into the YouTube comment section and have these conversations with people, it's always good to clear it up because, you know, and it's the case with these comments that happened as well. If a YouTube comment is, you know, sort of relatively well written, it doesn't even have to be like some sort of magnum opus type material, but if it sounds just like anything in life, people have the authoritarian thing. If you were dressed as a police officer, people will take you for your word just because that's how people act, right? So same thing with writing on the internet with everybody being anonymous. If somebody sounds marginally intelligent and says something confidently, then there's a large portion of people that will just take that for fact and then say, yeah, I like that. And then it spreads and makes it, you know, worse and worse and worse. And that's how a lot of content creators get in trouble with their communities, because there's a bunch of negative, false information about it. So these were kind of similar comments. So I was talking to them about this. The thing is that when it comes to this content specifically, and this is one of the things I said in these responses, was that people don't understand that this was content specifically to give value to Patreon, period. It was an opportunity for us to give people more for their money, because not everybody wants physical goods. And there was a lot of people that were on Patreon giving us money that didn't really care about the physical goods, or they weren't even asking for any of the tier rewards, but we wanted to be able to give people more for that.
We recorded two of them.
People just don't buy into it. So we were trying to, like, you know, give them more for that. What it also does is it gives us an opportunity to entice people who aren't about physical stuff, that didn't buy into Patreon because of that. Because there's a huge market of people that will sit there and say, you know, I would love to support these guys, but I still want to get something out of it other than just content, because the content's for free already, so I want to get something out of it, and since I'm not interested in the physical stuff, I'm just not going to buy in. And so we put that out there for that exact reason as well. It gives us an opportunity to tap into that market of people that would like to give us money every month, but people don't normally just like to spend money for the sake of spending money. They like to have something in return. So the Retro Versus gives us an opportunity to do that, and lo and behold, it jumped our Patreon up a couple $100 in the last week, with mostly $5 people just coming in to have access to Retro Versus, and people are loving the Retro Versus videos, which is fantastic. So the content was only for Patreon. And I say that because people, like Jeff was saying, were saying, you know, well, how are you going to grow the channel? Nobody's going to see the technical alpha retro versus because you've locked it behind a paywall. And if all you're giving are these trailers, well then no random person is just going to see the trailer and who's never been to the channel before and just say, oh, I'm going to go pay $5, which is fair. But the point wasn't to grow the channel with that content. And then the counter to that, which I got in the responses, were, well, why wouldn't you? Somebody actually started trying to talk to me about business in the comments section. It was like, well, you know, what I would have done to maximize growth in the first 3 to 6 months. Like, it sounded like a dissertation from fucking university. In the first 3 to 6 months to maximize possible growth before turning over into this other monetized content to get the most out of your you know, your time that you're spending and to get the most growth out of it, that would be, you know, what I would do. And I was like, well, you know, that's great, but we already did all of this years ago. And that was at our peak, where we had the most exposure, the highest probability, back when YouTube wasn't even as big as it is now, and it was easier to get spotted, and I mean infinitely easier to get spotted, and we had the viewers to get us there, and now that's not the case. YouTube is so ubiquitous everywhere, and people are so tied into it. There's so many users posting videos constantly, and all of its content just shit. It's like verbal diarrhea on YouTube. It's just non-stop videos going up, and there's no real mechanisms to find new videos anymore. YouTube just picks who they want to go up to the top. They go up to the top, and it's whatever. Us posting this content out for free would do nothing.
Yeah.
Zero. And the only argument that's against that is there is a 1 in like 1 billion chance of one of those videos going viral. And even then, if one of them went viral, like let's say When Cheese Fails Season 1 Episode 8 goes viral, even if that happened, that does not guarantee that even anything more than 10% of the people that watch that viral video stay, subscribe, and digest more of your content. It is the exact same scenario, which we'll probably talk about later on this evening with streaming. People think that if you just get hosted, oh, I just need to get hosted by this one big person. That's all it's going to take, and I'm just going to shoot up bat out of hell. Fucking just take off. And I'm going to be the next star. No, that's actually not going to work like that. What's going to happen is, just like on YouTube, even if you got viral, you know, going viral on Twitch is getting hosted by somebody like Dan's Gaming or some shit, somebody who has thousands and thousands of viewers. You get the host, you know what that means? If you're lucky, if you're super lucky, 10% at best follow you, and then 10% of that 10% become lifetime fucking viewers of your channel. If you're lucky.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee to any of this, and we understand that. And there's more to this, like, for example, people were saying, oh, you guys aren't making any money this way. You know, you might get a couple of people to buy in on this, but, you know, not as much as if you put this out there and it grew the channel on YouTube. I know I'm talking a lot here, but I'm on a fucking, I just gotta go.
It's okay. It's okay, Adam. It's okay. Let it just...
I need you guys
to we're gonna stay positive. We're gonna stay positive.
Oh, no, it's gonna be positive. I know it's positive. Positive, positive,
yeah,
positive.
Yeah,
positive, positive. It's like Richard Simmons on a fucking Sunday. Positive, positive, positive. One person, stay with me on this one, guys. One person spends $5 and buys into that content. That one person has successfully covered anywhere from 1 to 5,000 individual eyeballs in terms of ad revenue. One person. So if you get, well, I don't even have to do the math anymore for you. If
well,
you
we got about 40
a handful,
of them.
If we got
about
40 people
just
in this last go in growth in 1 week. Those 40 people now represent, as we've just figured out, many multiple hundreds of thousands of viewers to make that money up. People must think that YouTube is like some sort of world of infinite money. It is if you're PewDiePie and every time you post a video about the fact that you're releasing a new t-shirt, there's like 6 million views on that one video. The back catalog of views and everything he gets in a month from his old videos and the new videos is so huge. That's how they make money. Even when LAGTV was at its peak and we had a good CPM rate, we were getting 100,000 views on a video after it was out for a week.
Yeah, we made $6,000 a month at our peak.
We made $6,000 a month for 6 months at our peak, 6 to 9 months of that, and that was the show.
And that was at the height of our careers and everything. So
yes,
basically, what Adam's trying to say, guys, is we understand how it works. We've been doing this for years, and we do appreciate your feedback. But when Adam goes and tells you exactly how it works, do not try and fight back, because it's an argument that you're not going to win, because you don't understand the logistics behind it. Not only that, we actually are making no money on YouTube right now. We still do not have a partnership on my personal channel, Adam's, and LAGTV, zero money. So if there's any way to support us and you enjoy, even if you enjoy the retro verses and you're not interested in the podcast or you don't listen to it often, that as of right now, that's like the best way to support us, other than, you know, tuning in and watching our videos and sharing them and stuff like that. So, you know, our main goal was not to make this to get rich. I mean, you know, 40 people or whatever. It was just to give more value, and we'll just leave it at that. And for those that are supporting the verses, we appreciate it. We're going to keep dumping out that content. And also that allows us to help with the Patreon stretch goals as well, to open up other content that we're going to be giving to the public, not just like, you know, just the retro versus guys.
There'll be more free stuff.
When we hit these big stretch goals, we're going to be releasing more stuff, and obviously all that money gets pooled in to that. So that was the retro versus in a nutshell. Let's move on, and let's talk about let's just talk about starting up a YouTube channel or a stream. I'm sure there's a lot of people on here are listening that have thought about it, whether it is that you want to make money, you just want to have fun, you want to hang out with your friends, you just want to stream by yourself, whatever the case may be. We can quickly talk about some of the things that you're going to want to have, kind of like the musts and not really necessary things. I can start off by saying the two big things that you're going to need is a decent microphone and good internet. Obviously, you need some kind of upload speed. Typically, like a minimum of 2 megabytes is like kind of, I mean, that's even pushing it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can stream with anything, but having a good quality video and having good sound. I have a lot of people come to my stream, and there's actually a sound video that I made on YouTube. A lot of streamers come to me about audio because my audio sounds really good, but the reason why it sounds really good is I spent a shitload of money to have the sound, and obviously this is my job, so I can afford to do that, and it makes sense, and we'll talk about kind of expenses and things like that when it comes to streaming, and why we buy the things that we buy, for multiple reasons. I would highly suggest, and I'm sure Adam will say the same, a good starting microphone at a budget is a Blue Snowball or a Blue Yeti, kind of the same. I would say the Yeti or the...
Yeti's like twice the cost, though, or more.
Oh, is it? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeti is quite expensive.
The Snowball is good, and the AT2020 is good. And you can get the AT2020 in both XLR and USB, so you can kind of choose which version you want. It really depends. I would suggest, if you have the money, to get the XLR version and get a mixer, and you just need something basic, and that way when you do move up in microphone down the road, you'll now have your mixer ready to go, and you can also do a few more things depending on the type of mixer that you get. Obviously, the mixer that I have does compression, does equalizer, all that stuff right on there, so I don't need a bunch of stuff. Adam went the other route. Adam has got all the different racks for all the different things. It got a compressor, got an equalizer, all those noise gate, all those different things. Because Adam's a little more techie than I am, and I'm just like a plug-and-go type guy. I don't have time for all that stuff. And both
there were other reasons why I went that way, but I'll explain that when we get around to it.
Yeah. But I would say for most people, 98%, you're better off just getting a XLR or a USB microphone. I would once again suggest the AT2020 or the Blue Yeti if you can afford it. and you're good as gold. You do not need to have the sound quality of a $500 mic or a $1,600 mic. You can always make a relatively cheap microphone sound decent. So I think those are the two most important pieces of equipment you need. Obviously, the internet and the microphone. And I don't know, Adam, you want to chime in on anything else that kind of what people would, should have?
Yeah. There've been more. This is coincidentally, there's been like a resurgence of people asking about asking me to redo a video I did years ago on stream setups, hardware, software, OBS, XSplit, mic, all the nonsense, because I did one forever and ever ago and it's so outdated now. So this is kind of a coincidence that we're talking about this now. But yeah, so like Jeff said, the starter stuff. Because people tend to ask, is a webcam important? What is the most essential, equipment for a streamer? And there will be debate as to whether or not a webcam is absolutely essential when you're first starting out with streaming. There are people that make loads of money on Twitch that don't have a webcam up ever. Yep. There are lots of money. Or lots of people lots of money. There's lots of people that get a webcam or have a webcam that rely on it as part of the show because they're such an animated person. So it really depends on your personality and what your content and your channel is going to be like. Luckily, webcams aren't an enormous expense in the grand scheme of things. In the land of stuff that you're going to spend money on for live streaming, should you go long term with this and start making some money. To fund yourself to buy this new equipment, the webcam's pretty cheap. But you don't need it to start. And the ones that Jeff mentioned right out of the gate have been standards forever and ever. The Blue Snowball, one of the ugliest mics to have ever existed, but it's good. We used it for LAGTV for a long time. And it's like in the States, it's like a $60 microphone or something along those lines anyway. And it's USB, and it has 3 modes that allow you to use it for different things. So you can have it only front facing. You can have omnidirectional, so it picks up the sound behind it as well. So it's a flexible mic for a low cost. It's USB, so you don't need an audio interface or anything of that. It's plug and play. Same with the AT2020. I would suggest for people to stick with the Snowball unless they have a room that is incredibly quiet and they're not using a blue switch keyboard. The AT2020 is an amazing microphone, but it is also one of the most sensitive microphones that you can buy at that price range, and it will pick up a fly shitting in Africa, like Jeff's mic that he's got in front of him. The difference being Jeff's a large diaphragm condenser mic, and the AT2020 isn't, but it is still a condenser mic, and it will pick up everything that happens. So you scratch the back of your head, people are listening to the dandruff hitting the floor behind you. You need to be careful with that microphone. It's that sensitive. So if you have a good room, for it, if it's a carpeted room, it doesn't have a lot of places where sound gets trapped and you don't sound like you're in a cave, then an AT2020 is really nice. I used an AT2020 for years as well, and then we used it after an upgrade from the Snowball for LAGTV. And we both used it individually on our streams.
And then I got the 4040. I have the 4040.
And then you upgraded to the 4040. Yeah, which is the Big Brother XLR version. And you can get an XLR version AT2020, but what I will say, and I can talk more about getting into XLR microphones and audio interfaces and all that stuff, but I wouldn't, if you're going to get a 2020, the XLR is not worth it. Just get the USB, because when you get into XLR, there's literally a pantheon of microphones that are better than the AT2020 that are XLR microphones and cheaper than the AT2020 XLR. So if you're going to start out, stick to USB mics, get a Snowball or an AT2020 depending on your room conditions, and go from there. Get the mic up off the desk. It doesn't matter what mic you have, ever. Get it up off the desk, whether that's a boom arm like this, and you can get some cheap-ass boom arms. Or you can be like me back at home. I stacked up like 4 textbooks, a couple of Kleenex boxes, and like a friggin' contact lens cleaner case, and stuck my microphone and camera on top of that. It doesn't matter as long as it's up off the desk and it separates it from the mouse and keyboard. And then, yeah, go from there. Like a starter kit, if people are asking, you know, how much money it costs to start streaming, if you don't have to touch your computer, which is a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, we're not even going to get into that. We're not even...
we won't, because we'd be here forever.
No.
If you're just talking about peripherals, you know, you're looking at a webcam and a snowball mic. You know, you're looking at $200 after tax, and you're off to the races. And that's
it.
Pretty much
and
that's simple.
And that's all you need. Don't overcomplicate things, and that's where we get into the next part is what it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether it is YouTube or Twitch or any other streaming service. You know, are you streaming just for your friends, for yourself? Are you trying to make a career out of this? All those different things will kind of play a part in how you should stream in terms of schedule, in terms of length, in terms of time. All those things are very important. And I guess we can kind of go, because I have another note here on how to grow your channel. And this is kind of where... So, you know, you've already started, you've got your webcam, you've got your microphone, you've got your computer. We're not getting into that, but we're assuming you have all those things. How do I grow my channel? You know, hey, Jeff, how do I grow my channel? I've got 2 viewers, or some days I got 10. And to be honest with you, 10 viewers when you're starting out is pretty damn good.
Balling under control, yeah.
That is like really, really good. It may not seem a lot when you're watching people that have, you know, thousands of viewers or hundreds of viewers or whatever. But having 10 starting out or 5 starting out is a big deal. The best way that I can say, if you're trying to grow your stream to make this a potential, you know, career, or just kind of seeing where it goes, you're taking it serious, but you're not all in. But, you know, if the opportunity comes, you're going to jump on it. I would say pick a game that not only do you like and that you can play a lot, but you also have to pick a game that is popular. And I know it hurts. It hurts the soul. That's, you know, Adam can definitely chime in on that, because he has done everything but popular games. He had a small little stint, but and there's a reason why Adam has had a cap on viewership, opposed to me, where it is fluctuated so much over the years, depending on the types of games I play, and it's mainly because of popularity. Now, most cucks out there will say, you know, that's a sellout thing to do. Why are you playing League of Legends?
It is.
Why are you playing StarCraft? Why are you playing these things? But what they don't understand is, you know, you have to pay the bills, and you have to play games that are going to generate you views. Because believe it or not, us streamers and YouTubers are attention whores on purpose, because if we don't have attention, we don't have a house. We don't have a roof over our heads. So that's just the reality of it. So if you do want to play, like say you're a streamer and you really like playing fucking, I don't know, Dragon Age. You know, you really love Dragon Age. Well, unfortunately... or we'll even say Skyrim, something that's a little bit, you know, where there's sort of a community, and there's a lot of gameplay there. Say, you know, I want to make a career on playing Skyrim games. Now, there are people out there in the YouTube world and stuff that have gotten famous for, you know, going through the lore of Oblivion game, or Elder Scroll games, and do all that stuff. There are very, very select few. But in terms of going into Twitch or any other streaming service, you're not going to have any type of worthwhile growth playing a game like that, even though that may be the type of game you are most passionate about, if that is your main goal, to get noticed and grow. If you don't give a shit and you just want to, you know, play the game you absolutely love, that you're passionate about, that you light up like, you know, your girlfriend when you bring home Tiffany's and she sees the blue box, then play whatever you want. You know, play whatever you want and have fun. And there will be people that will come in that have the same passion as you, and it'll be great, and you'll make a little community, you know, even if it is 5, 10 people, or if you can muster together 20 or 30 people, that's phenomenal. And you might make a couple dollars doing it too. You never know. But if you do want to get any type of notoriety and you want to have a chance of growing, you kind of have to pick a game. You can't really hop around too much. If you are hopping around, you kind of have to have a schedule to hop around. So you'd be like, hey, from 8 p.m. Or 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I'm going to play StarCraft. And then after that game, I'm going to switch into whatever the fuck I want to play. You know, you kind of have to, and we talked about that when Nathanius was on, you kind of have to play a game that is known in order to do that. And it's sort of the same. YouTube's a little bit different because there is more creativity there, because you can kind of come up with weird and fucky things to do to an extent. It's not live, exactly. So you can come up with these weird videos and do different things that have a potential to maybe even grow something that has never been done before, or do something that somebody else has done before, but do it a little bit better, or put a twist on it. And you never know. You may have a couple of viral videos, and you may be able to capitalize on that, and those sort of things. I mean, even when you do movie reviews, for example, you kind of have to watch the movie that Thursday night on a Friday release, or watch it Friday morning or afternoon and have that review ready for Friday, because that's when everybody is searching for said content, and they want to know if the movie is good enough to go to or not. If you don't have those movie reviews out Friday, Saturday, the latest, you're going to lose the opportunity of all those eyes coming to search on YouTube to find out what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is like, and they want to get as many points of view as possible. It's no different than Twitch. If you're playing a game like League of Legends and somebody really wants to find a good ADC or a good support or whatever, they're going to go there and they're going to search for that content. If you're playing something like Skyrim, well, there's not many people out there going to be looking for Skyrim. So they are two different mediums, but the concept is sort of the same.
Yeah. On Twitch, so I guess I'll just elaborate a bit and then give my experience here. So like this would be like a do as I say, not as I do type situation. I'll be the parent here that's accidentally cursed something fierce in front of their kids, and then they're like, but why can't I say fuck? Shut your whore mouth! Do as I say, not as I do.
There you go.
So yeah, when it comes to it, just like Jeff said, and like we talked about before, is just, you know, not to repeat absolutely everything, but just to frame what I'm going to talk about is when it comes to being on Twitch, and if your goal is to grow your channel and have a shot in hell, first of all, understand that if you're starting from absolute zero, there is going to be a modicum of luck to getting your first few viewers. Because in any category of game that's, you know, what you would classify as popular, there's going to be a massive list of people playing it, and very few people scroll past the first like 3 waves of images representing streams. And if you're below that, then you're probably in some rough shape, and you need to build up a smaller, you know, bigger and bigger group of people to get you further and further up any given list. So when you're first starting, that is going to be the shittiest part, is you're going to be streaming for probably 0 people for a lot of the time. And then one person's going to come in. And by God, you better be best friends with that one person. And then the second person comes in and you have a 3-way, and then the 4th person comes in and things get awkward, but after that you just keep going, and you have to be as active with that tiny-ass community as you can, so that whenever you are online, they come back, and it gives you that tiniest better chance of having the next 1 or 2 people spot your game and spot your channel and come in. There's also a bit of a science with what games to pick in terms of their popularity in being relative to the size of your channel. If you are a channel like, let's say mine, where if I play Solitaire, I still will manage to have 60 or so people watching me play Solitaire, because that's just the 60 people that will show up no matter what I'm doing. if you're in my category, for example, there are some games that you can play that will do basically nothing for you. No matter how much you want them to, no matter how popular they are. Let's take League of Legends for an example. There are so many people streaming League of Legends that there's a huge depth of people with a really good number of viewers. It takes you a while to get down the list before you're sub 100 people. So if you're sub 100 people and you're trying to crack into the range that people will actually have a chance of noticing you, you're probably not going to want to try and do that right out of the gate because you're never going to get noticed. Yep. Case in point also, Jeff, although an extreme case because he has a larger following to begin with, if somebody my size went into a community the size of RuneScape, RuneScape on Twitch is a super diehard community, but it's not a categorically enormous community. It doesn't take you very long to go down the list before you're hitting numbers that a lot of early streamers have a shot at being recognized or seen and, you know, have the ability for people to come into the stream. Heroes of the Storm. 26,000 people, something like that, usually most days, somewhere in that neighborhood. You have a reasonable size stream that gives you a shot at being noticed in somewhere like that. Don't go hunting whales when you're running around with like a toothpick. You need to have something a little bigger to take Moby Dick down. You got to work your way up and give yourself the best chance. And that's if you're being scientific about it. This all sounds horribly morbid and boring to be able to sit down and say that, you know, I just wanted to turn on my fucking camera and shit and play some games that I like and do that, please. Here's my ultimate recommendation for people. Fuck everything I just said. Package that up, light it on fire, and plant it on your neighbor's doorstep. Knock the door, run away. This is what I want you to do. If you really want to be a streamer, play whatever the fuck you want to play. Play what you love to play. And there's a case to be made for this. There is a infinitely smaller chance that you're going to get noticed, but when people notice you and show up, you are going to be at your happiest, your most energetic, the most you out of anything that you're going to be able to give, unless you are a goddamn champion actor when you're playing a game for the sake of playing it just to grow your channel because you want to have a shot at making the big league. If you are playing something that you like and you're being you and you're being happy and everything, that is going to grow your chances of locking down anybody that stumbles across your stream, and they're going to be a way more engaged audience member than people that are just strolling through on one of the more popular games. Again, unless you're an absolute fucking Tom Cruise level. I'm so happy. I can't stop smiling. Kate.
Well, you know,
I played to nobody on iTunes, but I just pulled a Tommy. Yeah,
I want to agree with Adam, but I can't agree with him there. If you want to make a career out of this, the reality is you do have to play games that are noticeable. In a perfect world, I mean, this is the world that Adam's been living in, and he plays what he wants, and he's very fortunate because he has a fan base from before streaming, so that he has that luxury of doing whatever he wants, and he has those fans that'll back him up. But the harsh reality of it is this. If you do want to make a career out of it, you don't necessarily have to play League. I do agree with what Adam said there. If you go to League of Legends, you have 0 viewers, you're never going to get noticed.
Just to clarify, what I just said there wasn't on the basis of making money. If you want to make money, be a scientist.
Well, then,
I'm just saying for most people, just play whatever the fuck you want. And then if it, of course, because this is the same advice I give you for YouTube. You know, people say, "What can I do on YouTube to get fucking big?" Said, make some shit that you think is really cool, and if it blows up, you have a shot and fuck. And if not, then you're screwed. Same on Twitch.
Yeah.
You know, do it as a hobby. Don't fucking go in thinking you're going to make a whole bunch of money, because there's a 99.9% chance that you're not going to make money.
Yep.
And if it happens,
great. Great.
Thumbs up.
But I'm gonna tell you, if you are looking for that chance to make a whole bunch of money, you do need to play something that has some kind of notoriety. And the biggest thing that you can do is, if you do start to get a few viewers, like even if it's 5, go ahead and use the host feature, and host somebody else or with the same amount of viewers as you, or maybe a little bit more. Start interacting in other people's channels that are smaller or around your same size, and just be part of the community. Start playing games with other streamers your size, creating that and helping each other grow. If you have now 10 viewers, you go to somebody that has 30 viewers and you host them, they're going to really appreciate a 30% bump in their viewership, and they're going to go, wow, they're going to give you a shout out and thank you. You're going to hang out in their chat for a bit. People are either going to be, super nice to you. They're going to go, man, you should go check this guy out. You'll get a bunch of new followers. And you got to work the network. That's what you got to do, and it is the slow grind. I do agree with what Adam said, though. You have to play a game that you enjoy, unless you want to make a career out of playing things you hate and you want to just be a grouch, and that is your shtick. But beyond that, if you're going to do something for 70 hours a week, you ought to do something that you like. And that's where we'll move on to sort of another part where I'm going to kind of commingle it. We can kind of go all over the place. And then this is the last bit of notes I have. And then we're just kind of at that point, we're going.
Shit,
we're going
it's
with
the
it.
fan.
So now that we've given you guys like a super quick rundown, like super quick, even though that may have seemed a little long, let's talk money, and let's talk, is streaming and YouTube a job? I can't tell you how many times I feel like I must defend myself, not only to people in my chat where I go, yeah, guys, I just worked for, 12 hours. When people hear the word work and play video games, a lot of people cannot comprehend.
That Venn diagram never seems to actually cross over for people.
No.
They're mutually exclusive events. There's work and there's video games.
There are some people that get it, that totally get it, and they're like, yeah, man, you do anything this much, it's fucking work. I don't care what anybody says, and that's the damn truth. But there are some people, and I'm going to be honest, it's not even just viewers. I have shit like my fucking wife or my mom that'll say some snarky shit that it'll
just
actually
playing games.
It actually pisses me off, and I kind of and it works me up a bit because, for example, Kayla, she will come downstairs and she'll like sit on my desk and fucking poke me with stuff. And then I'll have my stream go, why aren't you talking to your wife? Why are you being so rude or whatever, right? And, I'll usually say, hello, how are you doing? This isn't like an off, you can't come down here when I'm fucking streaming type thing. But this isn't socialized time. I don't go to my mom's work or Kayla's work and hang out and do my things. Now, I know it's a little bit different because we're in our home. And it's hard, even as a streamer or a content provider, it's hard to separate home and work. Okay, when I'm here in my room and I'm doing a auto-tune bit and I'm trying to wow a host that came in, and I've got my wife standing there at the door asking me, did I watch Big Brother yet or something like that. Those are the type of things where it's not her fault. And I know I'm bringing up my wife because it's just an example. But even like my mom, for example, I go, yeah, I just worked 14 hours. She goes, well, you didn't do it standing on your feet all day like I did, right? And in my mind, I'm going, well, there is truth to that. But at the same time, there's so much more to streaming or doing YouTube and being a content provider than just the act of doing. There is a lot that goes along with it, and not only in this, but any entrepreneur out there that owns a lawnmower company, that owns have their own law firm, whatever. I don't care if you pick up garbage in your neighborhood. There's the act of working, and then there is all of the other things, the stress of how much am I going to make? You typically, when you're your own boss, you need to put in way more hours than a normal person would at a normal 9 to 5. You know that beautiful like T4 or thing that you get from your boss? Well, you got to kind of prepare those things for yourself. You have accountants. You got to hold things out for taxes. And you got to keep all your receipts. You got to clock in so many hours. You got to be available all the time, because if you're not, people are going to watch somebody else. You got to deal with the criticism. You got to deal with the trolls. You got to deal with other people in your life, family members and things that appreciate and are proud of what you've accomplished, but don't respect to a certain level that this is as dire, if not more dire, than a regular job, because the weight of the world is on our shoulders. If we're sick and we don't stream, there's no money to be made. If we're sick, we don't create YouTube content, or we're not here on this podcast, we're not going to get those Patreon supporters. People are going to start leaving. And you know what? Boo-hoo me. I'm not crying about this. I'm just telling you that there is more to this. And I love and I eat up the business stuff. I love sitting and pitching to sponsors and sitting there and selling myself and selling the package of LAGTV and showing those things, and the amount of work that Adam does putting together presentations and getting overlays done and tweaking all the sound things and doing all these things. And at the end of the day, with no guarantee that any of it is going to work at all, and then to have somebody on the other end write you off as you're not working, it's absolutely ludicrous. And it's almost, it's insulting, because at the end of the day, yes, we may not be, breaking brick, or we may not be greeting customers at Walmart, but at the end of the day, we are working, and you have to have the same amount of respect for this job as you would any other job, and you have to be as disciplined, if not more disciplined, than anybody else. Because at a regular job, your boss tells you you better be at work at 7 and you can leave at 3. You got a half hour for lunch. You clock in, you clock out. If you're late, you get written up. You get so many write-ups and you're gone. You get this much vacation time. You better ask me for that vacation time, and this is how it's done. And that is called structure. And when you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what it is. You need to have the ultimate discipline in all of those things on the outside. If I want to go to, for example, if I want to go to Jamaica with the wife like I was a couple of days ago, I got to understand, I got to pay $4,000 for this Jamaica trip, and then I got to take 7 days off of streaming. I'm going to lose 300 viewers if I do the math, plus the donations, the followers, the not being here for the podcast, giving more work for Adam and Tabin to do. All these things. So a $4,000 trip then cost me, $6,000. And then I'm behind in work. Now I got to make up on the sponsor posts, and I got to do all these things. These are all the things that go through the mind of somebody that wants to succeed and stay successful. Or you can just go in. That's why you see so many YouTubers that had massive channels, and now their views are down to nothing. They're posting one video here or there. A Twitch streamer that may have made it big or have been successful for a couple years, and then they just peer off when their game dies because they don't want to move with the times. This is a job. So for those that don't think that this is a job, and if you want to get into this sort of thing, you got to treat it as if you would any other job, and if not, even more.
Yeah. I think you hit on most all of the points there. I mean, I think the key part of all of this is the whole thing about it being an entrepreneurial venture, right? It is working for yourself and creating your own job and your own business and your own brand. And managing all of those things at once, and just that upkeep. It's not like you said. It's not necessarily the act of it can be tiring to put on your the face for the often 8 to 10 hour streams that you do on a daily basis, or your 5 days a week or whatever. But it's the stuff that once you turn it off, it's not necessarily like a lot of jobs. And this is not every job, because the unfortunate thing when you talk about stuff like this is that people always have a counter. I kind of equate it to wintertime in Canada, where somebody on the East Coast will say, "Oh, Lord, Hunter and Jesus, boy, we got fucking 40 centimeters of snow coming tomorrow. Get out the fucking snowblowers early, boys. It's gonna be a real blistering fine Sunday. Boy, I tell you." And somebody out in like fucking Toronto's like, "Yeah, well, over here we had a fucking whole bunch of shit come down here, but it was like 60 centimeters and you couldn't see my car, and my mom was in the hospital. I had to walk both ways uphill." And it was just like, it's everybody's got like more snow than the other guy, and shoveling the driveway took them 2 more hours than the other dude, and it just like it's always this battle. So when you mention stuff like this,
I don't want to cut you off. Can you rejoin Zen, because you're a robot for me? I'm sure you're okay for everybody else,
really?
but you've been you've been a robot for me for a minute.
Oh, okay. Just give me a second.
Yeah. But yeah, so
I told you Zencaster would die. All right, I'm back. Am I okay?
you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I equate it to that. It's just people just one up everything. So when you mention stuff like, okay, so in the run of a day, for me, you know, if we want to talk about the day in the life of a streamer, regardless of the size, it all ends up being kind of similar to a point. You wake, you know, I'll wake up, grab something to eat, and then I'm downstairs within, you know, Jeff just changed his lifestyle completely recently, but this is going to sound a little different. But before, literally about 3 weeks ago, this would have been similar for him. And this is the life for a lot of streamers too. You get up, you eat, within an hour or two of being awake at best, you're downstairs in the office. Some people, like I did for when I was first streaming, I was literally just eating in front of my computer, my breakfast. I had just rolled out of bed. My bed was in the room I streamed in. I rolled out of bed. I went 4.5 feet to my computer desk. And I sat in my chair and I did my stream. And you're there for, you know, 8 to 12 hours would be probably where most people find the most success. Is that's the length of time you have to stream. Once you've made it huge, you can get away with a 6-hour stream and people just don't give a shit anymore. But in the beginning, you're going to be streaming long ass hours. But then after you're done streaming, there's a lot of stuff to do that Jeff just went over, all the stuff that's constantly going through your mind, and that stuff chews up even more time. It's not something that you get to leave at work, when most often you're working from home doing stream anyway. So it's not like, you know, you go to work, you clock out, you come home, and you leave work behind, and then it's completely separated. You turn off the stream, and I feel like a lot of people feel like as soon as you turn off the stream, everything just ends. You just go off and you watch TV, you go to bed, you do whatever you're doing, and none of that stuff includes work. When it's usually the opposite of that, I turn the stream off and then I will do work-related shit for like the next 2 hours, and then I will go up and go to bed, and usually that's some stupid hour of the morning, and then I get up and I do it all over again. And the separating the work from home thing is almost impossible. I mean, I moved my entire setup down into the basement to get it as far away from my bedroom as I could, because for the longest time, my office was next to my bedroom, and it was just, I felt like I literally never left the same 300 square feet of my home, and just, my world was a bubble this big, and it was rough in that way. And we can talk about that too, is, if you're going to do this as a job, you know, there's an argument to be made that when you're first starting out, you should, but the vast majority of people won't respect free time. They'll get this huge honeymoon phase where they will want to just stream literally everything that they do at all times. You did it, I did it, people are still doing it, and it creates this horrible culture. So if you're going to do this and you want to make a job of it, another piece of advice that I have, and I'm sure Jeff would have the same, is it's okay if you're working really long hours. You're going to probably do that. Schedule yourself so that even though you're doing long hours, they are consistent in where those hours happen, so that it gives you an opportunity to do normal ass person shit, like sleep and eat properly and exercise and get the shit out of the house and go and do your errands and not have to feel rushed about everything. You have to be able to give yourself an opportunity to still breathe a little, because coming from me personally, I'm still trying to pull myself out of that habit from 5 years ago now. I still can't manage to friggin' do it. I'm just on this constant thing where I have to be constantly working all the time, and it's the shittiest way to be, because you burn yourself out on a daily basis. So definitely schedule yourself and don't get yourself in some sort of crazy corner and burn out, because then you're really screwed. And both Jeff and I, maybe we can talk about this, both you and I went through burnout periods in the last our 5 years of streaming, YouTube for 6 years or whatever, 5 years for streaming, and we both hit like monstrous, I don't know if you want to talk about yours or not, but monstrous burnout periods where there was like health scares and shit involved in that, and that's still a pretty common thing as well for other streamers. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about what that was like and what led up to that.
Yeah, and I mean, this is all self-inflicting. So, I don't want to sound like a crybaby, and that's
no, it is self-inflicted.
It's all self-inflicting, but it's kind of like any other addiction, right? It's for me, I was addicted to growth. I was addicted to making money. I was addicted to validation. All those, it was kind of the three things sort of packaged in one, where every waking hour I wanted to be streaming. And I felt as though I would feel guilty if I took a day off. And I was like, and I still go through, I can honestly say now it's much different, because I've achieved a lot of the things that I wanted to do in life. Obviously, there's so much more that I want, but I'm older now too. So I'm 30 years old, and I've been married for a couple of years. So my way of thinking now, and I've learned a lot from those burnouts and those mistakes that I've made from the past. Would I trade them for anything? No. I think they were a great learning experience, and with all that burnout did come success, because I ultimately did put myself into those positions to get to where I'm at today. But when you do burn out, and you burn out bad, which I had a couple of years ago, where it just took over everything. Like, I was salty all the time. My relationship at home, like, I was hard to approach. And it wasn't because I was mad. It was just because I don't want to say depressed, because I don't think I've ever been depressed. I think people use that word a little bit too much, because, there's some real depression out there. But I was at that doorstep where I was feeling sorry for myself. I didn't get to do anything. My body was, I was getting skinny fat, and I didn't feel as attractive as I was before when I was active and working out. It was a combination of getting older, my metabolism slowing down, and just not doing anything. My priorities were just mainly get in front of the computer and entertain people and grow and continue to further my family. And that was great. Those are good things to have, but balance is definitely key. And when I had that big burnout, I was sick. Like, I was bedridden. I didn't want to leave the bed. I had to go to the doctors. I thought I might have had cancer. I was waking up in cold sweats. I was aching in places. I was getting paranoid. It was weird, man. It was just some weird shit. And when I went to the doctor and they did ultrasounds on my entire body, they're like, there's nothing wrong with you, dude. You are fucking stressed the fuck out. And I was so stressed, because I was worried that, and I had purchased a home, and I was like, am I going to be able to continue this run and pay for this place? What is my family or my friends going to think of me if this doesn't work out? And seeing this, the people in my life kind of have this, it's a cursing and it's a blessing at the same time. Like, I have friends that really look up to me, and I value that. I've always stayed very humble and very modest. I've always treated my friends the same as I had before all of this, and I make an effort now to cater to my friends as much as I can. I invite them over for monthly UFC nights, and I just try and stay grounded as much as I can. It's not like I'm some sort of huge superstar or anything like that, but it's more for me because I know how I am, and if it wasn't for people like my wife and my friends, I highly doubt that I would have continued to go down the right path. You know, if I didn't have someone like Adam to kind of keep me in check when I need to be kept in check, and have, you know, have people that are dependent upon me. Like you know, I have to be here on Fridays. I have certain things, and if I didn't, you know, where would I be? What would I be doing? So these are all kind of good things, but I just, a couple of years ago, I just let it all, I let it all pile up, and then I let it get out of control. And I was barely streaming for a month. I think I probably put in maybe 130, 140 hours, and I was just like, I was beat. People could see right through it. They're like, dude, you need to take a break. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, I just fucking took so much time off, and you know, I'm losing a bunch of subs, and I'm losing, you know, this is my lowest income for the year, and you know, and it was just, it's crazy how it takes over. Not eating right, not eating during the day, just sitting in front of the computer for 8 hours and just being a zombie. Of course, there's going to be days where you're not going to want to do this. It's no different than, I'm sure there's so many people right now that are their own business owner that can relate to all of these feelings, and just kind of having the entire weight of the world on your shoulders. And even though it is as something as fun and just, you know, it's fun as playing games. You know, you would think when you come downstairs, you turn on your computer and you play games that, you know, life is perfect. You know, shit, man. And it is damn good. Like, you know, yeah. Life is damn good. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, guys. I'm fucking pumped. I have an awesome life. You know, the people that are listening to the podcast right now, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Fucking Patreon blew up in 2 months. The love is real. Without you guys, I'm a fuckboy that is working at Swiss Chalet, and that's the show. And there's nothing wrong with that, but man, have I got a taste of the good life, and I never want to go back. Like, and that's, you know, another part of the motivation. The life I live is awesome. I mean, look at my fucking room, dude. Look at my room. I got a wall of retro games. I got fucking Dragon Ball Z statues behind me. I've got a fucking bar in the other room. Some really cool nifty seats. I've got 2 streaming rooms. I've got fucking 1,000 square feet of my fuckery. And it's amazing. It's the dream. When I was 15 years old, I used to just dream about having my own man cave like this. And I got it. I fucking got it. And it's awesome. So don't for a second think that it's all bad. It's really not. But man, when it gets bad, bro, it fucking sucks. It is like, and you can't, there's not many people that you can relate to, that you can talk to, that you can get things off your chest unless you go to a shrink. And I've been there. You know, I've been there. I used to, for 4 years, I used to go to therapy twice a week. A lot of people don't know that, but I used to go every Tuesday night and Sunday morning. And I used to go and I had therapy, and it would be twice a week, and it was awesome. I could just dish it out, and that was my thing. And I needed that I just needed it. And it's just a dark, dark place. When you submit your entire life to this, there has got to be some kind of balance, not only for your loved one, if you have a significant other, but for yourself. Most importantly, if you do not take time, even if, dude, I told Adam this, I will in the mornings now, I eat breakfast and I just go places. I'll like go to Value Village, like a thrift store, and I'll walk around and I'll look to see if there's any new Blazers in, or see if they have any video games. Tomorrow morning, I'm waking up at 6:30 to go to yard sales, you know, to make some YouTube content and have some fun at the same time. I go to the gym. You know, these are all things that I just started recently doing and committing to. And the sad truth of it is, the only reason why I'm doing this now is because I'm successful enough that I know I'm going to take a fucking massive hit for taking my own time, but I can afford to do it now. And and it's not even like Adam and I don't still bust our asses in terms of producing content. It's just instead of 80-hour weeks, it's 70. It's just like I take 10 hours of the week to do nothing. And some people, when you come home from work, your do nothing is to watch us, or your do nothing is to watch your favorite reality show, or go to ujiz.com and have a nice fap session, or whatever the case may be. For me, it's literally fuck all. Put on a podcast, run on a treadmill, go get sushi and sit by myself, go see a late night movie by myself. That's my thing, and I need that, and I'm a much happier person and a better entertainer when I am feeling good about my day and feeling like I've done something other than this.
Yeah. Nailed it. Nailed it. I'm still stuck on the other side of the fence. I'm still working my way over to the other side of the fence right now.
Join me, Adam. Join me.
Well, maybe. I need to make enough money first, and then I'll worry about getting there.
Patreon sellout goal. Yeah, taking time for ourselves money.
Get us to this, and Adam can go to the
gym money. Go to the gym.
But yeah, it sounds crazy that you have to say, I just need to take time to do nothing. But it's absolutely the truth, and people get trapped up, especially with the whole streaming thing with video games. Is they get trapped in the whole, first of all, games used to be my hobby, now it's my job, and so if I'm just playing a game and I'm not streaming it, why aren't I just turning the stream on and playing the game on stream? You can't even sit down and play games anymore without having the nagging urge to actually turn the stream on and stream it, because it's just wasted time, is how your brain registers it 9 times out of 10. And so, it is a silly thing sounding to say, but it's 100% true. And if you are going to try and get into this, for the love of God, start early. Working long hours is fine. Lots of people have to work long hours, but you will be more, like Jeff said, more entertaining and more sane if you try and take some time to yourself, and do that earlier. Do that earlier on. Yeah.
It really is, and there's a fine line, and that's the other side of the spectrum. Is we have all this freedom, and so don't think that you can then go on vacation when you want and stay out and do whatever whenever, because at any time you can go stream. You still have to be ultra committed. You almost have to put in that 70-hour week to allow yourself the 10 hours of freedom. You still have to have that mentality of ain't nobody going to write your paycheck but you. You need to go and get it done. And you have to, give it your all while you're there, because if you half-ass it, and there are many of days where I half-ass it. I mean, people see it. I'm cranky. People see it. But, when you're online and you're doing this all the time, when we're on a podcast, we're excited. We only do this once a week. Of course. We're uppity, even if I might not look it because I'm just half asleep all the time, but this is good. This is good. I like just sitting and talking. Like, this is different, so this is nice, and we've got this energy, and it's great. But if you come to our stream, you go to Adam's stream, and he's been live for 10 hours, and he's been playing some shitty game, Donald Trump just won something else, the tone might be very different. And it's because when you're in front of people all the time, they're going to eventually see you not in your finest light. And as long as you're not in that state for the majority of the time, people understand, but you still got to kind of put on a face. Even if you wake up in the morning, you're not doing the greatest, you had a fight with your spouse, or you're just feeling like shit, or you're ultra tired, you got to kind of still put on a face. You still got to look yourself in the mirror and just give yourself that pep talk. Imagine this. So before Twitch, and when we were just doing YouTube and whatnot, and I was working in a normal 9-to-5 office job in the marketing department, online marketing manager, everything was lovely.
And it was that classic because it was a privately owned old company. So it was like the stereotypical you see in the movies. The boss doesn't know your name, tells you, says, "Hey Bob," when your name is Frank. Like nobody knows who the fuck you are. You just show up, you do your shit, you go home. That was the environment, right? So it was like that classic, almost that fight. It was a Fight Club that he like, where he's working in the environment. He hits him with the keyboard. That's Fight Club, right?
Was that Fight Club?
Or was it something else? You know the scene I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah. And it's like slow motion and the fucking
and it's like,
keys.
And the keys say "fuck you" or whatever.
I think it might be Fight Club. I think it might be Fight Club. Somebody will say.
Was that something?
Wanted.
Wanted. Oh, that was Wanted.
There you go.
Okay.
Wanted. There you have it. Yeah.
So yeah, so you got there's just shit kind of working environment. So people normally, when they get really tired and they wake up in the morning, be like, roll over, if they have a significant other, and they'd be like, I can't face my boss today. I can't put up with this shit today. I just can't do it. I'm just so tired and fucking sore and cranky and I'm sick and I just can't do it. And it's the thought of having to go into work and have to put on a face for the people in your office. Now stay with me on this. Imagine that. But then doing that in a live streaming environment in front of a couple hundred to thousands of people for where you don't have a cubicle. It's not Susie from accounting strolling by your cubicle and talking to you for 10 minutes when you don't want to talk to Susie from accounting for 10 minutes because you're in the middle of doing your work and you just want to go the fuck home because you're tired and cranky. It's you have a camera pointed at you at all times. And you're there for 8 to 10 hours, and you have hundreds or more people watching you, and you have to do that for that period of time. That's the kind of fuckery that live streaming can be, and so it's really, and I've done both now, so I can tell you unequivocally, there have been times where I miss an office job because... honest to God, the vast majority of office jobs, and even the manual labor work I've done, nothing has stressed me out more than having a rough day and knowing I have to go on camera for like 8+ hours. Yeah. Nothing has come close. Yep. Everything else pales in comparison. And so... when streamers are having a really bad day, here's something that I'll do because I'll say because it's something I do is, you know, I'm not necessarily trying to have the biggest stream on Twitch. If I did, I'd probably be tackling what I'm doing in a little bit different of a fucking way than I'm doing it right now. I stopped giving a fuck a really long time ago, like aeons ago. If somebody comes in and they see that I'm in a bad mood, there is a culture on Twitch, and we'll talk about this because after this we'll go on the break. Let's talk about what it's like to be in front of people for that long and what the interaction with chat and everything and a community management perspective is like after we do a break here. But somebody will come in and they'll see that I'm having a bad go. They haven't been here to know why I'm having a bad day. They don't know if it's the game that pissed me off. They don't know if it's something that happened in real life that pissed me off or has got me, you know, beat up and I'm bringing it to the stream that day and I can't hide it as well. And they will see it and then try and play to it to get a reaction for their entertainment value. And that's actually a cultural thing on Twitch. Salt is a fucking cultural thing on Twitch where people find it more entertaining to watch somebody be pissed off all the time because it's the whole, what is it called in German, Schadenfreude or whatever, where it's like getting entertainment value from seeing somebody in a shittier situation than yourself. It's like America's Funniest Home Videos when dad gets hit in the fucking nutsack by a golf club or some shit. You know, you're like, that's not my testicles. Get fucked. Get fucked. Yeah, exactly. It's the same. It's the same idea, but it's so much worse than that because it's a direct. You look at it as a streamer, and you know the person is trying to get a rise out of you, and there are some days you can't help but just bite and fucking let go. And you're here for a long time. You stop giving fucks and you just fucking slay them. And
it's
shitty because. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm the hardest on people that have been around forever, that know better.
Because they know better.
Those are the people that like that actually pisses me off. Like the randoms that come in, I'm just like whatever. But it's the people that have been around forever that I say once. It's been like once every 2 weeks now, where they'll just get me at a bad time after a bad run of games or some shit like that, and I'll just fucking lay it out there. And of course, at the end of it, I like to think of us as a big family. At the end of it, I'm usually apologizing, be like, guys, I'm just in a bad mood. It is what it is. Because I can just be that honest with people now. Because once again, like you, it's just I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, a few years ago, even I say a few, but like 5 years ago, I would want to please everybody. I didn't want anybody upset. If one person in my chat said, yo, I can't hear you, can you turn up your mic? I'd be like, oh yeah, no problem. And I turn up my mic and be like, everybody's like, what the fuck, dude? It's so loud now, right? I would be that type of guy. But now it's like I've been doing it so long that I've become jaded in a way, and I've just there comes a point where you're just like, you know what, fuck you, dude. You don't want to be here. Eat a dick. Get out of here. Like I'm gonna sleep just as good tonight. With all like no disrespect, but just fuck off. Like that's literally what it goes through my mind. Now, if it's actual constructive criticism, or if people have a reason to be mad at me, then if I have that same mentality, then that's on me. I got to check my ego and I gotta take that back. And usually I know when I've done wrong. And I have in the past, and I have messaged people and unbanned them and shit and be like, listen, dude, you got me at a wrong time. I shouldn't have done that. It's rare, but it definitely happens. But the majority of the time, it's warranted. And there's other big streamers that they don't really acknowledge it, because at the end of the day, there's so many people. It's whatever.
They also don't even have their chat up 90% of the time. They literally. Like, I can tell you that you want to know a pro secret as to why some of these bigger streamers are sane. Other than the fact that they're printing their own money, they don't read chat. It literally isn't up. Period. Even the chats that are in subscriber-only mode, if you think they're reading them, guess what? Pro tip, they're not reading them. They're not seeing it. At best, if you have a bigger channel, what happens is it will be sub-only mode, and then there are mods that are pulling relatively interesting shit and sending messages directly to the streamer, and that's that's literally the line. It's somebody's cherry-picking and sending it on, and then they aren't looking at the rest of it to keep their own fucking sanity. That's how it goes. But yeah, for me, when I see somebody's doing it and they're doing it knowingly that they're trying to get a rise out of me or make me feel shittier, I just don't have the patience for it anymore. I insta-ban. I just don't even care. And there's no get fucked. It's that. It's like, look, bro, I'm already having a shit day. I don't need you making my life worse. I don't, even if it's just for entertainment value. Like, I never understood. Maybe it's because I'm not the type of guy. I don't like. It's not like I'm gonna go to like a Neptune theater play here in Halifax, like I do occasionally once a year for like a Christmas play, and somebody on stage is going through the routine, and I just take my bottle of fucking $60 Dasani water and I just fucking huff at it at their fucking
$60 Dasani water.
Just get fucked, like, and just do it knowingly to piss them. Like I've never been the guy that will do something to intentionally make somebody feel worse. Like, why would you fucking do that to somebody?
It's the internet. It's the internet, bro.
I know. So, as it stands, as soon as that happens, instant ban. Gone. Yeah. I've banned my mods. There have been mods, a handful of mods over the years that I've unmodded and insta-ban, perma-ban, and they email me and they're all, I'm so sorry, guys. Tough shit, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You're an adult. Most of the people, especially in my stream, I skew older. So there's people in like their 40s watching me, like the groups of people in their 40s and shit. And they're sitting in there, or they're like somebody in their late 20s, and they're a grown ass fucking person, and they do that shit. I have no sympathy for you. Go watch somebody else. I just
you know somebody's in trouble. Like on my stream, when a sub gets banned, people are going, oh, sub got banned.
And then they're like, oh god, they spent $4.99. Get fucked.
Yeah, and then I get a message. Well, you know I gave you $5, motherfucker. I have the right to call you a tryhard.
I bought my ticket.
It's fun.
That's what happens.
So the other moral of the story, guys, when you become a streamer and a YouTuber, have thick skin, because eventually, we did have really thick skin at the start, and as we get older, just like in real life, your skin gets frail. It gets fucking, the shit rips easy, you bruise easy, and you're just like, fuck, man, these bruises are lasting a lot longer than they used to. And then eventually you become an old, jaded fuck like us, and you start a podcast, and you have a little freestyle podcast, and you just kind of vent and talk about the wonderful world of being a streamer and a YouTuber and how awesome it is. We're gonna take a break because we're going on, but when we come back, I want to talk money. I want to talk the green. I want to talk about this because there's a lot of people out there that have a misconception on how much money content providers are making, and the process in which it takes to receive said money, and how unreliable and well, it's reliable for me.
There's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about there. For sure.
The fluctuation of it is just so huge. So we're gonna talk about the green because I'm notoriously the guy that's a sellout, right? I'm notoriously the guy that there's that thing that I just quoted on Facebook and Twitter. It was one of these Fire Drake lines where like they're all rooting for you on your way up, but when you get there, they want to see you fall. Like they they like you on your journey, but they hate you when you get there on the rise. But once you're there, that's when the hate comes. So we're gonna talk about some cash. What kind of money do these streamers make?
I'll talk about how I'm not making any.
I've got all my taxes filed right here, boys. I can bring them out.
Oh, you're making Trump jealous.
Trump, you got this, Trump? You got this, Trump?
But yeah, we'll talk money after the break. But speaking of money, it's time for that sellout.
Yes.
So we're gonna go to that sellout push. Make sure on iTunes to give us a rating if you so choose. We'd love to have you give us a rating. It goes a long way to help us fighting the good fight against the 85,000 podcasts that IGN has on iTunes that clog up every top 10 list on the entire service. We've made it a couple times. I believe we can get back on those lists again. We just need your continued support, spreading the word, telling somebody about the podcast whenever you have the opportunity, and giving us those ratings goes the longest way.
What was that, Retroversus?
Heading on over
what was that, Retroversus versus Retroversus?
Patreon? Was it $5 for the Retroversus? Let me tell you something about just 5-star content. It's worth it.
It's definitely.
You're going to want to get in on that.
We've already got 2 new Patreons during this podcast. We got to be doing something. We got to be doing something. We're getting close to that 5K mark, dude.
We are.
We're getting close.
We're getting close, but on the back of one individual.
Beastall the God.
Beastall the God. But yeah, we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. Time for a little bit of sellout, and when we return, we talk the green. Sit tight. Hey guys, if you're enjoying Technical Alpha and are interested in supporting us, do I have a solution for you? We've set up this Patreon page to help us help you, help us and you. We've got a list of options that would make a used car salesman cry that provide you with a range of goodies for your support. Head on over to patreon.com/technicalalpha to see what's up for grabs. Like fancy badges and stuff? Subscribe to us on Twitch to get access to, well, badges and stuff. Not big on subscriptions. We have a button below that allows you to directly throw money at our faces. Careful you don't take those eyes out though. We are so very fond of our eyes. Honestly though, while we like to joke about the sellout, just being a regular listener is a huge help, and we're incredibly thankful for all of your support. Technical Alpha will continue soon, so sit tight. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. It is time to talk about money.
Money, 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 money.
I love to hate on Trump, but I can't lie. I watched the shit out of that show when it first came on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop watching it. It was so entertaining. Just watching that show was a good time. But yeah, we are back, and we're going to talk about the green stuff. In terms of realistically, how much money you can make in this line of work, where the sources of that income are, because people tend to have a skewed idea of where the majority of income for this kind of job actually comes from, and then whatever else comes up in the meanwhile. Because, like we've already said, we've got no script. We've got no script today.
We're just going with it.
We're just going with it. So I'll let you start with this because you have this is your last note, I believe, on your page.
Yeah.
So I'll let you kick this off, and I'm going to enjoy this 2-bite brownie. Hit me up with that collab 2-bite brownies.
Oh, so jealous, bro. Oh my god, I've been craving ice cream and brownies so much. Damn, that looks good.
Yeah. Oh, it's. Let me tell you a little something about deliciousness.
Oh my goodness.
Just delicious.
All right, so
but I'm cut like a bag of milk, so you got one up on me on that one.
So the topic of money, it's obviously nobody really likes talking about money. To a lot of people it's very personal, and it is. You're typically not going to walk around and tell people, this is how much money I make or whatever. It doesn't matter how big or how small. Majority of people that make a shit ton of money feel awkward to even talk about money because they know that in the grand scheme of things, most people just can't even relate to the amount of money they make. And so if they even complain about any type of money at all, they just come off as a douche or some kind of arrogant asshole that has a bunch of money, even though that may not be what they think. And then most people that are broke always have a person or a thing that most people, not all, but most people always kind of point at, this is the reason why I have a shitty job, or this is the reason why I'm in this position financially, or whatever the case may be. It's usually the blame game. And the people sort of in the middle are like, I'm content, bills are paid, car in the driveway, roof over our head, kids got clothes on their back. you know, just enough money saved up for the family vacation, and everything is cool. So there's kind of 3 different spectrums. It's sort of the same thing in streaming, where you've got guys that are just starting out, that are not making really any money. The main source of their income is fully driven on the support of their community, flat out. I mean, now, you know, Twitch got the affiliate thing, so some people can get the bits and whatnot. I don't really think that's going to give them a whole lot of money. I don't think that's really going to change their position financially, because the people that were going to donate were just going to do it via PayPal and have their Twitch alert pop up and get their props that way. You know, the bits is obviously just, it's encouraging for the streamer. It's that extra, it's that next step, and it's always a good thing. But typically those smaller streamers, they are usually 100% reliant on community support. I know a few streamers that are in that window. I won't drop any names, but I know a few streamers that are just at that stage where they may be Adam's size of a stream, but they don't have Adam's loyalty in terms of his fan base, and the people that view him, because Adam's been entertaining and he's got all these things that he's been working towards so many years.
60
and people
years
are,
of it, yeah.
Yeah, people are attached to Adam. They want to see him keep succeeding, and they want to help him achieve his goals, and they want him to be available for their entertainment. A lot of people that even are Adam's size in terms of stream, you know, with 100 to 200 viewers, if you really think about it, and they don't have that connection, the only money that they're really going to make is if they have a sub button, which I guess if you have that sort of viewership, you'll qualify for. So even if, say you have 100 viewers, say you get 20 subscribers, you know, Twitch is going to take 50% of that. It's not a whole lot of money. And then you've got, you're basically dependent upon donations. I mean, that is literally, that's going to be your main source of income. And of course, there's no way to know. I mean, you could, you know, usually any type of streamer has got a couple of people or one person, depending on your size, that is, you know, well off. They, you know, you're entertaining the hell out of them, and they're just throwing money at you, and they, you know, they appreciate everything you do, and it's no sweat to them. And so usually those type of streamers, they are almost relying on those individuals to show up and chip in when they can, without, of course, you know, asking for it, because that's very rude. But just kind of being available and hoping that's the case. Typically, those type of streamers, though, they have side jobs, so that isn't really their main focus. It's the ones that have taken the leap of faith, and they weren't necessarily ready to make the leap, where they become fully dependent on that, and it becomes very driven. Because if they don't make money, they're gonzo. And that's just the reality of it. And on a side note, when I first started streaming full time, or when I quit my day job, I had about $5,000 in the bank saved up, and so I was as realistic as I could be. You know, if shit hit, I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money, and seeing as though I lived in a $500 a month apartment building, and Kayla also lived with me, so she also had a job. You know, if this didn't work out, I would have had at least, you know, 6 months to kind of, you know, get on my feet and find another job, or go back to my old job, or really just give it a good college try. So you kind of want to have that thing. And then there's sort of the next step of streamer that now does have a fair amount of subs, and they're making like enough money that they would be if they had a regular job. And that's sort of the dream for a lot of people, is to make enough money to support yourself and have fun. And that is, I think everybody can kind of agree with that, not only in streaming, but just in life in general. If you can have a job and support yourself and your family, and you enjoy going to work every day, or most days, obviously we talked about the bad days, but most days we enjoy doing what we do. It's a great job. That's the dream. Everybody wants that. You know, anybody out there right now that's working a shit job, just know you can have your dream job, but you always have to work the shit job before the dream job. And you just kind of have to have goals and keep working towards those and being realistic. So for those people, they're living the dream, right? They're living the dream. And then, you know, there is the next level where there are people now that have fairly big success, where they're making more money than what they would normally be making at a 9-to-5. And then there is the next level where they're
printing their own money.
They're printing their own money. Well, you know what? I wouldn't say they're. They're pretty much.
They're printing their own money.
They're printing their own money, and then there is the step above that where they're the factory in which the money gets printed. So, and there's probably about 10 streamers that are kind of at that
in that
category. And as for YouTube, I mean, there are thousands of streamers out there that are printing money, but there are the top 7 that are making millions and millions of dollars a year. I think Forbes just came out, like PewDiePie was like 7 million, Husky's girlfriend or fiance or whoever, the nubby girl or whatever, she was like
nerdy
nubbies, she was like at 4 or 5 million. Mark Laplier, whatever his name is, he is like 6 million or some shit. So, you've got those guys, but those are the megastars of YouTube. That's like having your own TV show. When you really think about it, like PewDiePie, somebody that is getting, 200 million views a month or something crazy. I don't even know what it is. I mean, that is like smoking the shit out of most primetime TV shows. Like the amount of destroying them. Like we're talking, there are streamers that stream that get more viewership than like Monday night or Sunday football. You know what I mean? Like in the run of a day.
Which is always why not to derail this whole thing, but which is always why people undervalue their themselves in this space, is that if you took and you did a TV show and they did 1 million views for an episode, that's like the top 5% of TV right there. The amount of money to have a 30-second ad run
huge
on $1 million plus, or 1 million view plus TV show is fucking astronomical. And on top of that, it's not a hell of a lot less likely or more likely that they're going to see that on TV versus seeing it on YouTube. And the amount of that people pay for those eyeballs is tiny. And so people get caught up in this thing of undervaluing themselves. But anyway, you could go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So, I mean, if people are taking full advantage of, sponsorships and like demographics and subs and ad revenue, all those things, I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars. And I think that's where a lot of people, they come to, I mean, even my stream, and they assume that not everybody, I mean, obviously, but they go and see somebody. I don't want to name drop anybody because I don't like talking money and naming people, but they go to a different stream that is 20 times my size, and they see how much money this person is generating, and then they just assume that everybody's making that kind of money. You're on YouTube and they're like, dude, for example, when I just bought my new car, which is a very expensive car, and it's pretty uncharacteristic for me to spend that kind of money unless I'm buying property, where I have been dumping all of my dirty esports money over the last 6 years, because I'm very, very aware that this job won't last forever. And so I need to have a contingency plan to potentially,
spin out
of it full time. I always think I'll do something. I always think I'll stream and entertain, especially at this podcast. I can be 40 years old and talk on a microphone. But in terms of being able to continue to live this lifestyle that I live, it's not like I live a lavish lifestyle, but I normally don't make those sort of purchases. So ultimately, when I bought the car that I did, people just assumed at that point, like, holy fuck. And that was another reason why I didn't really want to tell many people about the car, but at the same time, I'm doing videos about it, and it's going to be, I'm excited. It's like it's one of those things that you want to share your successes with the people that helped you get to where you're at, but you want to do it in a way that doesn't come off arrogant or showboating, that sort of thing. For me, it was the reason why I was able to get a car like that or be able to afford a home like the one that I have is because I was smart with my money for many, many years. I had made every mistake in the book from age 17 or 18 when I went to university all the way till about 22, just before I started doing this with Adam, and even a little bit during the whole LAGTV thing. It's all about, and I don't want to get this into like, a whole like financial stream, but for me, it was more of investing a lot of my money, in putting it into real estate or, retirement or mutual funds or whatever. Right. Even though I know there'll be some people that don't like them, but, whatever it was, is I was able to, basically what I'm trying to say, because I'm trying to word it in a way that that I'm comfortable, because I don't really like talking about it all that much, is I lived well under my means for so long that I'm now able to treat myself to something that I had no business buying years ago that I could have done. And I had absolutely no business. It would be just the dumbest, most dumb thing ever that I was able to do that sort of thing today. And that's something that a lot of streamers struggle with, is a lot of streamers start making really good money. And I've had this discussion with many of them, and they don't know what to do with it, or they don't know how to file taxes, or they don't know what to write off. And that's another thing that we can get into, because that's all part of the game as well. Is writing things off. But what I'm trying to say is, in terms of making money, there's many avenues. There's sponsorships, there's ad revenue, there's subscribers, and there's donations. The majority of the money that I make come from my donations, my subs, and my sponsors. Ad revenue is like whatever. And depending on the sponsor, it's whatever. The majority of it does come from the support of you guys. So, for example, the Technical Alpha podcast, it's at over $4,000. I get a cut. Adam gets a cut. Panic gets a cut. Patreon gets a cut. The government gets a cut. And when you start cutting all that stuff down, it becomes smaller and smaller. But at the end of the day, without that, we would not be able to continue to do, and not just the Patreon, but I'm just talking about support in general. We would not be able to have the job that we have, and that is hopefully to entertain you guys.
Yeah, it is, and I can understand, why you wouldn't want to talk too much about it, because it is a difficult thing. There's like this weird, if there was a graph for it, there's like a point of no return, where as soon as you cross over this section of public notoriety and how much money you make, when you start talking about, the things that you're buying or trips you're going on, or whatever, it takes almost nothing, and there's a huge amount of scrutiny that can come along with that, where you do feel like you have to defend yourself, and so sometimes it's often the case where you just don't talk about it, so you don't have to defend yourself. But at the same time, like you said, just to tie it into what you just said at the very end there, almost all of the money comes from just direct support from the people that are listening to this podcast or watching this live stream or seeing it on YouTube. It's the people that are putting that are watching it. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary support. It's the people that are watching it, but it's also the people that are subscribing and donating are the two biggest things, at least on Twitch, of where your income comes from. And so when people are that invested in you, you want to be able to share with them what their support over the years is providing you and allowing you to do with your life and your family and everything else. You want to be able to show them, hey guys, look, you took me from here and now we're here. and we're going here. If we keep this going, and people love to be kept up to date on that, and they like to be part of it. But when you do that, for the people that haven't been around in your stream for a long time, although some people that are in the stream for a long time can sometimes be the biggest critics, because they say, oh, you're so much different than you used to be now that you're making all this money. But usually it's somebody that's not been a part of the community for a long period of time, sees you talking about these things, and doesn't, hasn't been there for the story that has led up to that. They opened the Choose Your Own Adventure book. They got to the first page, it said turn to page like 67, and they just fucking said fuck all this and went straight to the back of the book and went there. They go, well, what the fuck, man? Why are you? A common thing that I know you get right now is, why is Jeff pilfering off this podcast? He's already making all this money. He just bought this expensive car. Patreon's at $4,000. What more does this guy fucking want from the world? How much money does this guy fucking need? And that's the unfortunate view that a lot of people take with that stuff, and it hits streamers and YouTubers harder than other celebrities, because there is a far greater connection between the entertainer and the viewer than there is in other mediums, and so with that closeness comes this weird level of thinking, entitlement, but also thinking that they know everything behind the scenes, and so there's this weird awkward relationship that makes it worse. Nobody complains about movie stars like Robert Downey Jr. making $50 million for a single movie. Everybody goes, fuck yeah, Robert Downey, let's go, Iron Man,
get
Stan
that money.
Lee, get it, like, yeah, you did good job. But then but there's no connection with Robert Downey. They're like, they don't know Robert Downey, or they haven't had a conversation like we would with people in chat right now. We could just randomly pull somebody and start having a conversation with them, or we play games directly with them. There's a closeness there that they don't get, and so people don't. Not everybody, but a lot of people don't see it the same way, and it comes back at you. So I can understand why you wouldn't want to talk about it. I, on the other hand, like many things in life, I just don't give a fuck. I literally just don't give a fuck. I can be the one that gives people a more clear view into the financial thing of it, because I will I tell people all the time pretty much exactly how much money I'm making, how much money I have in my bank account, what it is that I've got in my driveway. It doesn't matter. What the fuck? I will tell them everything, because I don't care, because I've never been the type of person that has ever cared about if people know how well off I am or anything, because even though I'm not making as much money as, say, yourself or other streamers in the space, I'm still making enough money that when people think, oh, you're playing video games and you're making this much money, there's still a lot of negative shit that comes along with that. So, but
before you go, and I think a lot of that is that you're playing video games, and a lot of people, or everybody that's watching, plays video games. So they think that, somebody like Robert Downey, in their minds, they go, I could never be a movie star. I'm not going to be able to do this. But I think there's this level of, I can do what this guy fucking does. There's nothing special about this guy. He just fucking turns on his webcam and he collects money. That's
so why can't I make that?
So why can't I do it? Or I'm just going to hate on this guy because, I choose not to do that. Instead, I'm gonna tell him how he should do it. Right? I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, so that's part of it. It's so in a run of it, like Jeff was saying, as far as just Twitch, we don't need to talk about YouTube anymore because we don't make any money on YouTube. Really, the money that comes from YouTube is us pushing people to the Patreon via YouTube. So on Twitch, here's what the last 3 years of my life look like. 3 years ago, on paper, I made less than $20,000. The following year, I made $24,000, which meant that I didn't technically have to pay taxes for 2 years, so that was a positive. And then the next thing that people will say, well, how in the shit were you not homeless? And the answer to that is because the years previous to those years were really good years, and Jeff can, you know, other than some of the equipment I bought in here for streaming, I literally buy nothing, like almost ever. This sweater I'm wearing right now, for those of you on YouTube, okay? Jeff can confirm this because we went to high school together. I have owned this sweater and used it outside restaurants, anywhere, doesn't matter, since I was 17 years old. This sweater is 11 years old. My mother tried to buy me new sweaters that looked the same because she was like, damn it, Adam, you've worn that for half of your known life. Buy a new sweater. And I'm like, no, I don't want to because I like it and I'm cheap as fuck. So I had a good chunk of change put aside that I just, for those 2 years, I ate it. I just ate up all of the downside to that. And the reason why I mention this is because streaming and content creation, unless you are solidified something fierce, is the most roller coaster financial thing on the planet. You go up, you go down, you don't know what's coming the next month 9 times out of 10. You literally no clue. So you have to put away money. Even when you are making good money that you would maybe make more than if you were at a regular job, you still have to bank up a bunch. I had $30,000 in a bank sitting there because I knew shit was going to hit the fan or I was going to put it and get a house. Life didn't happen that way, and that $30,000 in those 2 years, well, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's gone. It's all gone. And, you know, that's so if you want a reality check for what it's like to be in this business, there you have it. Do you want to be in an environment where you might lose randomly $30,000 might just evaporate over time because you've made like next to no money in those 2 calendar years? And that wasn't for a lack of streaming or necessarily anything like that. That was just, you know, that could be as simple as ad revenue changes, life happens, you know, you change, you know, on Twitch, it can be, as a variety caster, my average viewer count is a roller coaster as well. I can go up into the 300s. I can go down into the 60s. It can be all over the place as a variety caster because you don't keep this core audience of people that only want to watch the one game. Like, for example, Jeff did with StarCraft for the first, you know, 3 years of his streaming career. So, that was what that is what it's like. You have no idea what's coming. You have to prepare for it as best as you can. Sometimes it kicks you in the balls.
And you have to get in. You have to get your hands in as many pockets as you can.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really, like, you know, bad, but it's, you know, things like Patreon, things like streaming, things like Game Wisp or whatever. You have to have your hands in many different places, sponsorships, you know, one-off deals, whatever the case, because they always go away. Everything disappears, whether it takes 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever, it disappears. And in order for you to substitute that money to offset those fluctuating things, you have to always be ready. You can't wait until something dies because it happens at a dime. You know, you get a call or you get an email from a sponsor, and you know, like, for example, one of my sponsors, Chairs for Gaming, I was with them for 2 years, and although I wasn't making any crazy kind of money, you know, I was making some kind of money. But, you know, just you get an email and say, hey man, we're all out of chairs for Canada or whatever. We're shutting down this part or whatever. Unfortunately, we can't pay anymore. And then it's like, oh shit, well, there goes, you know, 2 of my bills or whatever. You know, or another sponsor, you know, Corsair, for example, when I was with Corsair, getting paid a certain amount of money each month, bringing, you know, driving content and all this other stuff. And then, you know, 3 months later, it's no longer there. Or you're doing a one-off game and you know, with the possibility of it being a long-term thing. And you never bank that it's going to be long-term. You just assume you're going to do it for a month. You're going to do it for 2 weeks or for 4 days, and it just disappears. You know, you've got really big supporters. Suddenly they're no longer interested in your stuff, or they have life, or they got married, or they just stopped wanting to support you. You can't rely on that. So you have to be able to go in different places. Also, for me, there's never not enough money to make. I am very fortunate to have this platform and this opportunity to further myself and entertain the world. To, you know, when I say world, I mean this little bubble that I'm in. But I have an opportunity here, and the last thing that I want to do is be 45 years old and wishing that I had given it a little bit more. If I had only, you know, had asked this person for a sponsorship, if I had only started a podcast with Adam 3 years ago, where the fuck would we be at then? You know, all these things you go through, and I have this philosophy where I need to make enough money to pay my bills, and then I need to almost double that. That's where I'm at, because guess what? This is not guaranteed. In fact, it is inevitable that eventually the shit will go away. People come and go. Your time is there and it's gone. And to a very big, for a big example of that is LAGTV. You know, we are on our way out in terms of us being a team. Now, I know that sounds really crazy. People are like, no, don't talk the end of the world. You know, what do I do to save you? It's like, dude, we're not going anywhere. But we were finally realistic and truthful with ourselves and each other to go, hey.
A little late to the party on that.
We were definitely late, but that was, when we talked about that in another video, that was more of loyalty to the fan base and to stay true to us, because people throw around that word sellout so quick and they think that you're just hopping for the money. And yes, money is a big part of that, but sometimes when you push it too long, you go down with the ship. And unfortunately, LAGTV, the two of us, we stuck with that one ship and the ship sank. Fortunately, we do have some diehards out there that love us as us and not necessarily the game. And so they're willing and happy to support our next venture, and that is the podcast. And that is why, of course, we need to get paid to do this content, not only to live, but to have that security to know that we can continue to produce this stuff worry-free and not have to have our attention deferred over to going back to school for something, or starting aside this and aside that, and stressing and not being there to the fullest, or using this excuse of, well, we're not getting paid enough, so we're not going to go above and beyond. That's all bullshit now. It's like, hey, the money's there, guys, step up and get it done, and that's what we've been doing. And it's no different for me. I know that eventually all this good stuff, you know, these are the money-making years of my life. That's the way I like to think about it, even though that may or may not be the truth. I don't know. I'm not psychic, but I have to I have to invest correctly. I have to make enough money so that I am furthering myself, because if I'm living paycheck to paycheck doing this job, I'm fucking up hard. I would much rather live paycheck to paycheck with a secured job at a brick and mortar where I know I'm getting a certain amount of money and I'm working a certain amount of hours and living that life. I can't do that living this life. So whenever somebody gives me shit for you know, playing a game for a year, which is a long time, and then when that game's dying out, moving on to the next to stay relevant, or grabbing a sponsor that makes sense for the stream, and obviously, yes, I'm going to get paid for it. I can't say sorry to that, because at the end of the day, dude, I don't tell you what you should do with your line of work and who you should work for, and how hard you should strive for a raise, or whatever the case may be. It just so happens that you're a viewer. Now, obviously, there are limits to the shit. You don't want to be a walking NASCAR, and at one point I was that, and you know, it had a bit of a negative effect, and so I always now have a certain amount of sponsors or things that I want to push, that I'm not bombarding people with this objective of making money, and as long as you find that happy medium and maybe even push the envelope just a little bit, you're in good shape. But anybody out there that wants to do this, or you have your own business, don't settle. And don't settle because don't let somebody, one of your family members or your friends tell you, oh, you're working too hard, man. Slow down some, man. Slow down some. Keep your foot on the gas pedal, but of course, always take that time for yourself to reflect and say, there is a reason why I'm doing this. You know, when I go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and my wife is sound asleep, I know that I'm providing a place for shelter for her and putting her in a safe place. And not only for her, but for myself and for, you know, future kids or whatever the case may be. I'm never sorry for that. And I will never be sorry for making money and furthering myself and my family tree. Because if I don't do it, who else is going to do it? I'm not out there trying to win the lottery. You know, I'm out there trying to make my own lottery. I'm out there trying to further myself. I'm not trying to be, you know, be uber rich, but at the end of the day, you know, we need to get paid, and we, like anybody else, especially since we're already past the shelf life, Adam. We've already gone much longer than the average person. And I think if anybody that's listening to this, there's probably a bunch of different personalities and people that you've watched on the internet that have come and gone. And we have managed to weather the storm. And we are in a storm right now, for sure. We are definitely at the lowest in terms of viewership on YouTube when it comes to, you know, producing content. But we have this beautiful thing called the Technical Alpha Podcast where it's now growing. For the first time in years, we're growing. And yeah, the views may be small in comparison to what we were, but in the grand scheme of things, our podcast is actually doing very well, and it is more viewed than the majority of podcasts that are out there. So for that, we're proud, but obviously we want to strive and build this to something big so that we can have more money problems.
Yeah. I'm down. I know I'm personally down for more money problems that don't involve not having the money in the first place. Would be great, actually. I'm just in such an awkward place because Jeff and I actually had this conversation a few weeks ago. It was one of our times we were together. He was over.
It was when we were doing the retro versus. You were over here.
Yeah. And we just talk about stuff. We get caught. We always have to schedule like 5 hours in advance of whatever we actually want to do because we talk for 4 hours first before we get around to doing anything. So it was one of those times, and we were talking about it, and I was like, you know, the awkward thing about where I'm at is I'm literally making, you know, not a huge amount more money than I would be if I went back to the workforce for, like, let's say the next 5 years, but not enough, not so much more than I'm really able to put a whole hell of a lot of money away. So if I went back to the workforce, I'd be making, let's say, $5,000 or $10,000 a year less for at least 5 years to build my salary up to meet where I am now. But yet on the stream side, I'm not really growing any. I've just been kind of stagnant for so long. But at the same time, like, if I go away, I'm not doing myself any favors either. So I'm in this weird friggin' like
limbo.
This kind of purgatory.
It's hard to make a decisive decision because at the same time you've got your cake sort of, but I'm
just not eating it. I'm looking at the cake from across the room.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? That cake looks fucking good. But maybe if I just had a nibble. No, you're not allowed. You're on that Jenny Craig diet.
But this is the podcast is going to change everything, right? So we'll see where we're at in a year.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
The podcast will definitely change. Let's talk one last thing about in the money realm. A lot of people ask me, you know, because this is a business. You know, I do have a company. It is a legitimate business. There's payroll. There's contracts. There's accountants, and there's different sets of taxes and different due dates and all this fun shit, you know, that comes along with this. Let's talk something called write-offs, and a lot of people don't know this. Now, if you are starting up as a streamer and you're trying to make this a job, and even if it is a part-time thing and you want to make money, you can write off all of the stuff that you're doing. So, for example, say you do go out and you do purchase that AT2020 USB, and you do go out and get yourself a Logitech C920 webcam, you can write that off. You save the receipts, you write it off towards your taxes, and you get either a chunk, depending if you're corporated or you're sole proprietor or whatever setup that you have. You either will get the HST GST back, or you'll get it'll knock off. So if you make $30,000 in a year and you spend $10,000 worth of stuff, you're taxed on $20,000 opposed to $30,000. Now, I'm not a tax expert or anything. I do know a fuck ton, but I'm just saying this for legal purposes. Obviously, you want to talk to an accountant or a financial advisor or anything like that before you go and do all these things. And obviously, in the states and different provinces, there's different rates and different rules and these sort of things. So make sure that you talk to an accountant to let you know what you can and cannot get away with that's legal and stuff like that. But just to put it into perspective, some of the stuff that I write off and why I have a $1,600 microphone, it's not because I want to go out and spend $1,600 on a microphone. It's because as a company, you want to have so much expenses. There is so much. Not only are you going to save money in terms of taxes and you're going to get money back, if you're ever going to buy something that you need, you're better off doing it through your company or through your business. Like, you don't have to be a corporation or whatever registered. But if you are, making money doing these things, obviously you need to have equipment and things to do that. It's no different than a regular business, how they have to pay for the brick and mortar. They have to pay somebody rent to be at the store. And obviously they are going to write off their rent. It's no different than where I live. I have an entire studio here, and I make sure to maximize the amount of money that I can write off by expanding my studio in many different ways. So I have a streaming room here, which is so much square footage. I have a streaming room out there where I do all my consoles and stuff. That's so much of a square footage. And then, of course, I have my studio bathroom and all this. So basically, the moment you walk downstairs, I have my big MaximusBlack logo, and this is my entire office. So essentially, my company will rent a part of my mortgage, will pay me part of it to rent out the square footage of what I'm using. Obviously, you can write off things like the internet, your microphone, your video games that you buy. You do a bunch of giveaways and things like that. You can obviously write that. That's a way of promotion. Hey, if you enter this giveaway, you follow me on Twitter, your Facebook, you gain more Twitter, more Facebook. You go to a sponsor, say, hey, I've got this many Facebook and Twitter followers. Your rates go up. It's a game, and you can write off things like your car and stuff like that. Even though I don't do that because I don't really use it. I do now. It's kind of like this thing where I should probably talk to my accountant about it because I do the yard sale videos, and now I'm doing the whole car vlogs and shit. So I'll definitely be able to incorporate that in some way. But I never really left the house all that much, so it never really made sense. If Adam and I had a studio, when we're making that really dirty podcast money and we want to get the hell out of our houses and have a central location, then yes, then it would totally make sense. But you can write off virtually anything. My printer right here. I need ink. I need toner. I go right off in the company. Put on a company credit card. Paper, company credit card. Shredder, company credit card. The electricity and stuff. I mean, it costs money to run all of the lights, all of the computers, all that shit, right? A percentage of it. You can't write the whole thing off, but a percentage that your accountant would calculate that makes sense. Your cell phone. I don't know if I said internet or not yet. It really just all depends. And then, of course, all your equipment. So your computer, if you're a good enough streamer, you usually get this stuff for free. But if you are buying a graphics card or something like that, you're going to want to put that on the company as well so you can receive some of that money back and offset some of the costs. If you're traveling to an event, obviously you want to expense that. Your flights, your hotel. I mean, you're working. You're there to network. You're handing out business cards. You're collecting business cards. One of the biggest deals I ever got was going to a PAX East, and that trip paid itself over 4 times. So it's all about that, being with your peers, creating connections. All those things are so crucial and important to lower your costs. Not only as a streamer, but it's just good business etiquette. You just want to do it because you're going to save money, essentially.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to add to that. That pretty much just it. This is like You know, it can sound super complicated, but at the end of the day, it's not particularly complicated. Obviously, taxes work differently depending on where you live, both country-wise, and then either like by province or by state. For example, here in Canada or the States. So you know, certain things will apply differently depending on where you live, for sure, and whether you're self-employed. Or it's in a corporation, they operate differently to a degree, and the rules that you play by and everything change depending on those two things. But at the end of the day, as soon as you start making money that that you're paying into taxes for, you can start writing stuff off.
Yep.
So there's definitely ways to play the game, so to speak, where you can keep your costs down, like Jeff was saying, and at the very least, make sure that not all of the money is going to the government, and you can at least get some enjoyment out of your money, because your hobbyist thing has turned into a moneymaker, and so it's just convenient that you can buy games and write off a percentage of it, or buy equipment and write off percentages of it. It's like, most of the crazy stacks of equipment I've got over here behind me were from like end of calendar year. And my accountant says, you need to have X amount of dollars in write-offs to bring us below this tax bracket so that we can save some money. Go find a place to spend some money.
That's the best thing you can ever hear, man. It's so much fun hearing that.
Okay, let me go find that out. Now, not all the time can that happen. Like, for example, last year last year was just a shit year just in general for, like, in life. My house was broken into. My car finally fucking kicked the bucket and died on me, so I needed to actually get into a new car and whatnot. There's a lot of just expensive life shit that happened last year. And on top of that, coincidentally, was also a pretty good year for income for me as well. And combined with that, the US dollar just went through the damn... Well, I shouldn't say the US dollar necessarily so much as the Canadian dollar.
Canadian dollar tanked.
Just dove. Yeah. And it dove over the course of only a few months. It wasn't like the whole year where it was like on this slow fucking... the shit just went along and all of a sudden it just dropped off a cliff. And literally because of that, towards the end, because Jeff and I here in Canada are largely paid in US dollars, the conversion rate on the dollars that came in pushed me into another tax bracket far enough that I didn't have the money to spend to get enough write-offs to bring me down into a different tax bracket.
So like
literally the accountant called me up and said, and Jeff and I have the same accountant, and he said, I'm very upset. I said, why are you upset? He said, because you made too much money and you didn't have enough write-offs. And I was like, well, I didn't even make that much money. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, the US dollar. And I said, okay, all right, well, what are we looking at? And he was like, I need you to find $15,000 in write-offs. And I was like, what do you think I am? I don't have $15,000 laying around for this shit. So yeah, that was kind of funny. So sometimes, you can't always make it happen, but it is nice to, to be able to do that. It is a perk if you were to ever to, come up with a list of things, I guess, to a degree. That is a bit of a perk for it for sure, but yeah, it was just kind of silly. So, life as a streamer or content provider, this was just such a, like, we could talk about this stuff for endless hours, but the big takeaways here is that it is a fun kind of thing to do, because it is a thing that most of us have as a hobby, and as long as you can separate and make your work-life balance happen, then it is a rewarding thing to be in. It takes a shitload of time. You need to be a jack of all trades unless you're willing to pay people money to do a lot of the side work that comes with the job, whether that's graphical work or financial stuff or figuring out these audio videos setups. So many people don't have an idea of how to do any of this stuff, so you either have to pay somebody else or find out this information, which is time, and time is money when you work for yourself. So do you want to do what I did and sit down and read shit for like 40 hours in a week and try and teach yourself all these things, or do you want to just actually, go and pay somebody to do it for you? Just say fuck it. you know, there's a lot to it, but it is rewarding, and you know, there are downsides, and we talked a lot of downsides today, but I think that's important because I think people need a bit of a reality check with this line of work. Is that while it can be super rewarding, it is very easy to look at the top of the pack, the most visible people in this line of work. You know, your PewDiePies and your Markipliers and your Nerdy Namis and whatever else we referenced earlier today, or on Twitch, your Lyrics and your Trick2Gs and you know, your Crips and all these guys with 15,000 plus viewers. And you know, it's easy to look at the most visible people and see all the success and the money that they're making, and then look at on the surface the amount of work that they're putting in versus the amount of output in terms of financially that they're getting. You know, it's easy to do that and then apply that to virtually everybody else in the spectrum, but it doesn't work that way. And there's a lot that you have to take into consideration when you're doing something like this if you plan on getting into it. You know, for sure. And there's not a better example of. I didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier. I've just let Jeff talk a lot today because I'm half asleep. But there's not a better example or two better examples on the spectrum of how to tackle this line of work, or how it can take you wherever you want to necessarily get to. There really are, to bring this back to the beginning of the podcast, I want to mention this because this is something that I've been getting asked more and more in my community because I'm a variety streamer. People are always asking me, for example, recently, why aren't you playing PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds? You know, that's where you're going to get all these viewers. You're going to, you know, your channel will blow up. Go just play, you know, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. Just keep doing it. And people will ask me over and over and over again, you know, are you doing it? When is it going to happen? And my answer is just usually that it's not, because I have very different goals in mind than say somebody like Jeff, for example, as far as, you know, what I am capable of doing as a person to achieve these things. I can do a lot of menial shit and be okay with it, but there are some things that just drive me absolutely nuts. And I already had the Twitch dream in my hands. It was in my hands for a period of time back when I first got my partnership application, and that was during, and I mentioned this before, the Hearthstone beta, and I was averaging 500 to 800 viewers a stream just playing Hearthstone. And so I had made it. That was it. You hit that many viewers and you keep that consistently. By now, if I had just kept up with that, Lord knows I could have been the same. The odds of me being a hell of a lot lower than that in viewership, pretty slim. But what happened was, and it happened pretty early on, is it didn't take very long before I physically could not get myself out of bed to go and play 8 to 10 hours of Hearthstone. I literally couldn't fucking do it. I didn't like the game all that much. I've never been somebody that could do grinding for months on end on a singular piece of content. And I wish I could have, because you usually get a lot more success on Twitch in doing so. But I literally was incapable of doing it. And it started to affect my stream because I was getting grumpier and shit. And so I turned into a variety caster. And the irony here is that a lot of people that are watching this on Twitch right now or on YouTube that watch me on streams, they'll say that I'm grumpy all the time anyway. But believe me, many of you weren't there at the time. It was worse. It was a lot worse than it is now. And it's just because I couldn't hack it. And I think people, just to protect some people out there, don't kill yourself doing this shit. Some streamers literally have killed themselves in this occupation for that exact thing. You know, they get caught up in that nonsense. But to make this I'm trying to derail myself. Variety casting is great because you can play whatever you want for the most part whenever you want, but you're never going to really be a huge streamer. There are very few variety casters on Twitch that break 2,500, 3,000 views. Man vs. Game is like the variety caster. And even he didn't really start as a variety caster. He just grinded the ever-living shit out of a couple of games and got to that point. It just so happens that they weren't the usual stuff like a StarCraft or a League of Legends or something else. He just managed to make that happen in other ways, and now he's able to branch out and do other things. But variety casting is not something you can grow a channel particularly well with, even if you try and science it up. So if you want proof of what the two methodologies will net you here, I do very well because I've been in this for 6 years. So I make a good amount of money because my community is super supportive, and they are incredibly generous with their donations, and their subscription support has been long-term. And so, you know, I make enough money that I can continue doing this as a job otherwise. I can't think of very many people that have the average view count that I do that could live off of Twitch money. I'm in a very small group of people. Just the group of people is probably about as small as the group of people towards the top end of the spectrum as far as the sheer number of people that are capable of doing that. And I'm super grateful for it. But Jeff went about it in the way that if you wanted to emulate somebody and make more consistent money on, if you have the personality for it, I didn't, and I still don't, and that's why I still don't do this stuff to this day. If you have the personality for it, then you want to do more what Jeff did. You want to stick to a game that has some semblance of popularity for a period of time, grind it out, move on to the next one. That's how Lyric did it. That's how pretty much everybody else that makes any money in this business has done it. That's what you want to do. So if you're in it for money, and you have the personality to be able to grind that stuff out and push yourself through and make it work, then that's how you're gonna have to do it, and go chase that shit. Because people will always ask, because Jeff and I worked together on LAGTV for years. A very common thing is, why is Adam at 100 viewers and Jeff is at 600 viewers? Or 1,000 viewers? Or why, even when I was doing well and I had like 250 viewers, why is Adam at 250 and Jeff is doing StarCraft and he was at 2,000? And the answer to that is a number of different reasons, but chiefly it was because I'm bouncing around games that aren't necessarily popular and doing variety casting, because that's what I had what I could tolerate. And Jeff stuck to one game and fucking plowed that one. And the game also just so happened to be, at the time, the #1 game on Twitch before League took over.
Yeah.
Grinded that shit out and did that for years and built up a community off of that now allows him to more freely bounce between communities and be a better success earlier in those communities because of the numbers that he has. That is the key. That is the big fucking secret. When people say, how do you get big? That is the secret. It's stay in a place long enough to gain some people, know when to move on and don't look back and keep going. And if people hate on you for it, fuck them. Yeah. Who cares? You're in this. If you want this to be your job, you have to treat it like a job, like we said before, and just go and get it. So if you want to emulate somebody, for the love of God, do not emulate me. Don't fucking do it.
Adam, you're doing perfectly fine, bro.
Because but what I want, what I'm saying, but the only reason I'm doing fine is because of LAGTV's success on YouTube, where I had a platform of people that were with me for years previously. People who are just starting out do not have brand loyalty like you and I did moving into Twitch. It doesn't fucking exist. So you have to create brand loyalty, and that shit takes a long time. And so until you get to that point, don't do it. I'm telling you right now, you will, the odds of there being anybody out there who are looking at me and saying, well, Adam made, like I'll tell you, last year I made $50,000. You made $50,000 and you averaged under 100 people for an entire year on Twitch. Holy fuck, all I need to do is get 80 people on my stream and I'm a god. No, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you this right now. It's not going to happen. The only reason that exists is because of LAGTV and 6 years of doing it, and for no other reason. I'm not an entertainer by trade or anything. That's not my personality. I turn it on. I do my game reviews. I have a community that's supportive because of the time I've put in and the LAGTV that came before. But if you want to be successful, emulate Jeff and hope to God that you have a semi-entertaining bone in your body and you have a much better shot at making it. But do all of this, but don't let it take over your life. Just try and enjoy yourself.
Just enjoy it.
Try and enjoy yourself.
It is a blessing. It really is. I have the best job in the world. I am going to look back at this, decade of my life and just be in awe. I'll look back at it when I'm 50 years old and say, Adam and I will have stories to tell, and it'll just be, it's amazing. I can't thank the fellowship and not even just the fellowship, but just LAGTV people in general and all the new people that come in. So there are new people that are coming in, but when I look and I see people on my stream that have 62 months of being a sub, and there's like 30 or 40 of them, you go, wow. I actually haven't made a commitment for 62 months other than obviously this with Adam and my wife. Like, that is the show. I have not committed, and I most certainly have not committed to a content provider. I'll go out and watch, every Brad Pitt movie that comes out or something, and I'm always going to support my favorite musicians. Like, if Drake comes out with an album, I'm buying it the moment it comes out. That's my way. But to physically go into a chat, subscribe or donate or just be there and be part of that community, and to have somebody and people commit that long, knowing damn well that if it was me, I probably wouldn't be as invested as some of these other people. And that right there is amazing to even think. I have people, there are like 2 YouTubers that I watch on a regular basis, and yes, I do donate them money a month, and I do support them financially in the ways that I can, because for one, I'm a content provider, so I understand what it's like to have to make money. And if I'm consuming all this shit, and I'll be honest, I use ad block, so I have to, I actually can't sleep at night knowing that I'm consuming somebody's content every day and it's entertaining me, and I'm not giving what I can. Not saying it's a bad if you don't. But for me, I do support. But to think that I know I haven't supported a channel for 62 months or for 5 years or for 6 years, that's incredible. That really is incredible. And that, I can't even put it into words. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Similar. I can't like somebody. When it comes to donations and stuff like that, or tips or whatever the fuck you want to call them at this point, donations, I try to get myself out of the habit of calling, because it's not really a donation. When that kind of stuff rolls through and they're big donations and they're frequent, because, as a streamer, you do this for a long time, like you've mentioned before, you'll have some people that will consistently donate money, and sometimes it's a big chunk of money.
Dude, we've got $1,000 Patreon right now.
Exactly. Throw that out right there. Okay, so there are streamers and YouTubers that I've watched on and off over the years, and I've donated to some streamers some pretty sizable chunks of change. I think the most I ever donated to somebody was $1,000. That was when I was actually making money. But
that's the most I've ever done too, in a one-time donation.
Yeah, on a one-time donation. So, I've been there, but it took a lot to get me to that point.
Yeah.
And I don't do a lot of like small donation stuff, or even like $100 donations come through, and I'm just like, I try and put myself like how. It's like, I can't understand how people, I love that they do that, because it's literally 50% of my income is tips on stream. That's actually 50% of the money that comes through the door. Some months, it's more than 50% of the money that comes through the door is through tips. And so when that comes in, and you'll stop and you're like, you're trying to put yourself in the space of the person that just did that, or somebody even more to a point, the people that do it on a regular basis, and I get mind fucked, because I don't know. I can't do it myself. I wouldn't be able to just waltz in and just start tossing out $50 at a time, to a person, even if I'm enjoying their content, and it makes me feel like an asshole. And then when it comes in, and it's like the 5th time the person's done it, and you're trying to come up with like, you want to react? You want to have a reaction, but it's happened so many times that you don't know how you're supposed to react anymore.
Well, here it is, Adam, and this is what I do. And of course, we say thank you, and it is appreciated.
Yeah, well, of course.
I just make sure that I'm available, and I just continue to do what they are paying for me to do. And I'm always, I like to think of myself as a very consistent streamer. You know, I'm always on, or, you know, whether it's this podcast, people know that they're going to consume this every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That is the best way that I've come with, besides just saying thank you and sometimes writing an email and letting them know, like, wow, man, that's huge. The best way for me to do that is to show up and continue to entertain, and that's all.
And,
we can really
that's
do,
what,
right?
and that's what you do, right? Like, you have a big donation day or a big tip day or whatever, and then you're like, I have to keep streaming. It's like you look at the clock and it's like it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and a donation rolls through, and you're like,
you feel like shit. It's like going to someone's house and eating dinner and then bouncing. You're like, all right, man,
immediately,
I'm gonna eat the food, and you know what? That was really good. I enjoyed that filet mignon and that $300 bottle of wine you just gave me. But I gotta go. You know, I've got a raid at 8 o'clock, and it's 7:30. I gotta go.
You understand? I gotta go, and that's kind of what it's kind of what it's like. But that is something, that I always struggled with. After a while, you literally, this is a weird phenomenon. I know this is going to sound possibly strange to a lot of people listening to this right now. You get desensitized to donations over time. You won't see it coming. For a long time, when you're first starting streaming and you get to a certain number of viewers and people actually start giving you money, it doesn't matter if it's $5. You're going to shit yourself dry. That first $5 comes through. You're going to be like, somebody just gave me $5. Holy shit, that's just for no reason. They just gave me $5. It just happened. It wasn't a subscription or anything, just handed me a $5. Just thank you. Then it's 10. Then your first $100 donation rolls through. Woo! And you're over the moon. Your heart rate is like a machine gun. You're flushed. You can't speak. Your English goes out. You start speaking Spanish, some other foreign language you've never spoke before in your life. You just City of Babylon type shit. And then randomly, if you stream long enough, and this happens to you enough times, you won't even see it coming, but it will happen one day. You'll be streaming, and somebody will donate to you $100. And that cocaine rush addiction thing is not there. And you're like, and
you know
internally
what you need,
it's
happening. You know what you need, bro? You need the John Cena. That shit, my shit is never desensitized when the shit is so loud and about blow you up. You just can't get desensitized from that shit.
Yeah, that's definitely shock the shit out of you.
You gotta spice it up. You gotta spice it up.
But when it happens, and like I remember when it first happened. I remember when it first happened to me, and I remember looking at the donation number and the name. But internally, I was having a monologue with myself, like, why don't I feel so fucking hype right now? Somebody just gave me a shitload of money. Why am I not feeling hype? I need to look hype right now. And then you look at the camera and you're like. You're like trying to like, how am I going to act for this? Because there's, you want to look there, like as the dollar amount goes up, you want to ramp the reaction.
You only can get
right?
so ramped. I mean, there's only. For me, I can put on a chainmail. I can get. I still get pumped up. I mean, when I know people are supporting and they're having a good time, because typically when people are supporting you, they're having a good time. It just amps my energy up, and everything is good. But I see what you're saying, especially when I got Suicidal Zerg and they're throwing 5 sheets, and I got to listen to weeb music and wheelchair access all day. Yeah, that breaks my soul, but. At the end of the day, guys, it really is I know we've talked about money for quite a bit now.
No, it's whatever.
It is important. But at the same time, the content providers and us included, we got to earn it. We got to go out there and we got to show up and we got to give you guys something that's worth paying for. And at the end of the day, there is no paywall on any of it except for Retro Versus for $5 on that Patreon. It's all free. It's all free content. And I don't want anybody listening to this thinking, well, I've never supported a streamer or YouTuber financially. I feel like I'm such a shitty person now. That's not it at all. It's really not it. If you're watching an ad, if you're clicking on a giveaway link, if you're following on a social media, if you're talking to another person in chat, if you're part of the discussion here on YouTube and leaving a comment or liking the video, those are all ways to support the channel. Sure, it may not put dollars into our pockets directly like a PayPal donation would or a Patreon thing would, but man, when thousands of people rally together and they do that, that ends up turning into those dollars when we can go to sponsors or when we're getting pushed up on things like iTunes and people are seeing us and then new people come in and the numbers grow and then there are a few people in there that do want to pay for the content, and it is an ever-growing thing and a never-ending thing. So just because you don't support in a financial way, just know you are appreciated. And the best way to support is to let your friend know about the podcast. Share your favorite When Cheese Fails video when those things were hot. You know, all those things is what happened. There's a reason why certain videos get 1 million views and certain videos get 5,000 views, is because when the community rallies together and they show their appreciation by sharing or liking, it all just goes up. And all the metrics and everything, and then that's when the new wave comes in, and that's when things happen. It's no different with the podcast or any other thing, whether it's Twitch or whatever. Everything counts. So don't feel just because you're not a nerd baller that you're not a supporter, because if you're still listening to this podcast like 2.5 hours in or wherever we're at right now, you're a supporter. Straight up.
Yeah,
you're a supporter.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's
before
get into,
we move on to tech support, before we do, I just wanted one more thing. It's not a long thing, but I just wanted to ask, because I just thought of it while we're talking about the tips and shit. I just thought of it in my mind there briefly. Do you remember what your first big donation was? Like how much money it was?
Well, the first
and who it came from.
The first big one that came was $100, and that was from PanicSwitched, who coincidentally is not here right now. And the reason why that one's
for the webcam or whatever.
Yeah, that was for the webcam. The first like really big donation was man, I don't know exactly what name it is, who exactly it was, but I do remember, and there was a whole bunch of them that day, but the first day where I made, it was like $6,000 in one day. And that was when I put on a toga and went and did the sushi run.
Sushi.
And one person said, "I'll give you $100 if you do it." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I guess." And I go and do it, and I come home, and it was just a train of money. And I remember the biggest one that I had gotten in that was like $300, and I legitimately was like, I was shocked. Like I've had other days where I've legitimately cried on stream, like got teared up. Because it was the amount of love was just like, it was like a fucking Care Bear stare. Like the fucking beam of love was just smashing me on every angle, and I could do nothing but submit to it. Like the last episode talking about my grandmother, you couldn't hold it back. I couldn't hold it, right? So there are certain ones, but those specific days, but I have so many of them, to be honest with you, and they all stick into my head to an extent. But there definitely were moments that were like transcending, the sushi toga day was like life-changing. It really was life-changing. I remember I paid off Kayla's credit card. She had a credit card. I remember paying off the credit card, and it just alleviated so much stress. It was just like, it was it was amazing. It was amazing. What about you?
Yeah, I remember the first one. It was actually, coincidentally, not only was it a bigger donation, but it was also one of my first donations, which was crazy. It was weird. This was when I was still on. This was before Twitch even existed. This was still Justin TV, and I had like 30 viewers, I think, at best. Whenever I went live, I had like 30 people watching, and a donation came through, and this was long before there were any notification systems. You didn't know unless you had like your email up on the side.
That's
what
I had to
idea.
Refresh that bitch. Yeah.
You had to refresh the page.
Check your email, bro. Check your email.
Check your email, man. See what I hit you up with.
Woo!
Exactly. Like that was before all this fancy shit, right? So I just done some stupid stream that I could barely pull off. In fact, I think it was when I was still recording my TV with my Motorola Atrix strapped to a chair, pointed at my TV, running that through Dino Broadcaster on an IP cam, and then streaming that to Justin TV. So the quality, as you can imagine, was spectacular. I still had 30 people watching that, so that shit was, people were desperate. Beggars can't be choosers back in the day. But they, I'd streamed for like, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours, and I turned the stream off and whatever, and the next morning, I checked my email before I was going off to school or whatever I was doing at the time. And I saw this donation, and I looked at the number, and I was like, "Hold on, that's gotta be that can't be right." And I clicked on this thing, and I opened it up, and it was $350.
Woo!
And the name meant nothing to me. I didn't know who they were. I still to this day have no fucking idea who this person was. They're from Norway, of all places. Some random Norwegian. When I was still streaming on that potato,
baller.
$350. I still don't know who it is.
He hooked up.
My mind was fucking blown. I remember running until I was still living at home. I was told my mom, I was like, somebody just gave me $350, and she was like, "What did you do?" What did you
Dude, when we went to when we got caught in the airport and we got stuck in the airport and we had all that fuckery shit going on and all that other stuff.
It was a great time. Stuck in Maine.
Stuck in Maine and shit. I came when I came home, like this is all this shit. I came home, we finally got there, and we were posting videos and shit. Like I think we posted a video up on YouTube saying like we're fucking stuck in Maine. We like uploaded a video in the hotel and shit. And I come home, I check my email. And I'm almost certain, because I didn't, obviously you can't see the username when there's a donation like that.
Yeah.
You get the real name, and the person was from Australia, and I can almost guarantee it was probably Fricey. I don't know for sure, but because back then I didn't know people on a name-to-name basis, sort of like, you know, there's certain community members now that I like know well. But now that I think about it, it's probably Fricey. And if not, I do apologize if that person's watching. Like, motherfucker, that was me. I don't know. But there was a $1,500 donation in my inbox, and I wasn't even streaming, dude. The guy wrote a thing. He said, "Yo, I'm sorry about all your troubles at the airport and stuff. I hope this makes it better."
Yep.
And I came home to that, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I didn't stream. Nothing. There was nothing. I didn't upload anything. It was just straight love. So
yeah,
pretty.
I think
pretty crazy.
we both have one person that we won't mention because they always they fly under the radar. But guy who's long time member of our community, not super older than we are, but dude that almost financially carried our ass for about a solid year.
Yep.
When I moved into this house 5 years ago, I was an idiot because I couldn't live in a house that was empty. I furnished the whole thing on day one, and I drained my bank account, just gone. And I was live streaming. Me and Natalie, my ex-girlfriend, were live streaming me putting together furniture on Twitch. 400 people were watching that shit. Yeah. 400 people. It was like 1 in the morning, and I was putting together my TV stand. That I didn't have any tools in the house yet. I just had this like shitty hacksaw that was made for copper pipe, and I had to cut like composite wood with it, and it was like took me a half hour. I put on like some epic 2-steps from hell. I only needed to cut like 1.5 inches of wood. It took me like 45 minutes fucking cutting this thing so that the thing would even go together. And when that happened, or during that, this person donated $4,000 in one donation, and I was just like fucking. So there are people out there that are just so incredibly generous that allow streamers to continue to do what we do.
And it's not just us. It is like every streamer on Twitch.
Somebody has it there.
People out
there. The communities are incredibly generous. There was a time a couple of years ago when a friend of mine who's also a streamer, her house burnt down. I remember hearing about this like the day, like she was in the house when it was on foot. Like they had to get out of this house because it was burning to the ground. And when they got outside, it started collapsing not long after they got out. Like they barely get out of the house. None of them had their wallets or anything. They're standing out in the middle of the street in their, their pajamas. The camera crew showed up and shit. And they lost all of their computer equipment, all of their shit, all gone. And had nothing. And so... the next day, I did a stream to raise money to replace their equipment. And in 3 hours, my community raised $5,000 for this person, and we replaced all of their equipment in three fucking hours. Yeah, and that's only and that's like a community. This is like 130 people were on that stream. And we have $5,000 fucking dollars.
That's like the Games Done Quick guys. They did like $2 million the last time in some shit.
I
mean,
money.
the gaming community is
super
amazing, just amazing. And it's not even just us. It's just about every community out there, big and small. They support their fellow gamer. They support their entertainer. And they get behind the content that they love, and it is amazing to see, and it is appreciated, and that's coming from a content provider who gets to do what he loves because of you guys. So all that mushy shit, let's actually move on to
tech support.
To some tech support questions.
I'm gonna let you choose. The first question.
Okay.
I haven't even looked at these since I've refreshed my page here.
Neither have I, so I'm looking. For those that don't know, for the $10 and above Patreon supporters, you can go to our posts on Technical Alpha. Each week, Adam posts up a picture that says Tech Support Week 8, Week 9. Next one will be Week 10. And then you leave a comment on that with your question, and we pick a couple of them that we think would be cool to ask or to answer. That one's for PanicSwitched. Do you see anyone yet that you're interested in?
I'm almost done reading them, so I'm just seeing what's here.
Like the psych. Okay, so here's one. We were not going to answer it because we kind of already did, but I do want to just give him a shout out here.
Sure.
Cyclonics, who is a $10 supporter and has been for the first 2 months. He says, as a job, are there games that are currently playing or have played that you consider tedious or that you would literally hate, but you would continue playing because they bring in the viewers/donations? Are you in a position to select mostly enjoyable games for you to play, or it's out of the question even if it is, even in the foreseeable future? So basically he's saying, are you willing to play a game that brings in large viewers/support that you hate or that is very tedious, kind of like, for example, when I think about it, Boshy, I want to be, a Bosch or whatever. Obviously, those games make me rage. I make a lot of money playing those games. I even had one made for me. The crazy thing about it is I actually enjoy those games. So although they make me rage, it's a challenge, and it feels so good when I beat them. When I beat a boss or whatever, it's amazing, and it's great entertainment.
Gratifying.
So, yeah. Now, if, for example, here's a good example, and some people called me a sellout because I stopped playing League of Legends and I moved on to whatever I was playing after League of Legends. Or I think I went back to StarCraft. If I wanted to play a game that's tedious and that makes me rage and I hate my life for the money, because guess what? The year that I played League of Legends, I made fucking bank. I bought another house.
Yeah, that was your biggest year.
That was massive. All right, the money was, it was a good year. I stopped playing because I started not enjoying working. Or I'm not going to use that word work. I stopped really, not all the time, but I found myself not wanting to come downstairs, turn on the computer, and play League of Legends for 10 hours. It was great for the first like 10 months, mainly because I had so much to learn. It was innocent. I you know, when there was trolls and shit, I just kind of made fun of it, and I, you know, did my shticks and teabagged some names and sang in some auto-tune, and it was fun. But then after a while, after that honeymoon phase, and then it all sets in, and I realized, like, oh my God, like, this is what I'm playing for a living. That right there was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. You know, being told to die of cancer and to kill myself, and being called every name in the book, and losing a game and having to play like 3 games to make it up, and then if I lost another one of those games, and then it was 6 games to make it up, and you get to play like 1 game an hour if you're lucky. I just couldn't handle it anymore, and so I stopped playing. So to answer that question, there is a fine line. I will usually push it closer to the I will submit myself to the shitty game for a limited time. And then at one point, I will break, and I will hate my life. And then at that point, that's when I will say, that's enough. I don't care how much money I'm making. That's enough. What about for you, Adam? Is there a game that you could play? You know, I mean, you did it. I mean, you played Hearthstone, and that was like your most successful stint.
That was my most successful stint, yeah.
And you stopped playing.
Yeah. Well, most successful in terms of viewership. I didn't make, you know, the most money I ever made in a year was had almost nothing to do with anything. I was just, if anything, it was just so happened to be playing games that were relatively popular and for ridiculously long periods of time. But as far as viewership goes, yeah, Hearthstone was it.
Yeah,
but,
well, he
I
said
also
viewers
played
/donation. So I mean, in terms of
yeah,
viewership,
oh, okay.
You know, would you play a game right now if you were guaranteed, you know, to double your viewership all the time? But was a tedious game, you couldn't do it, or you didn't like doing it. Would you do it for the money, like, or for the opportunity to make money? Because obviously it's never guaranteed. I mean, I can make more money than a streamer that has 4,000 viewers. It really all depends how you market yourself and monetize your area. But in terms of viewers, would you stick it out?
For viewers. If I was guaranteed viewership, which is, you know, you can't really say that because it's never guaranteed. If it was guaranteed viewers, then yeah, sure. I mean, I think anybody would do that, because at least for a short period of time, because then you give yourself a chance to grow your core community, and then, you know, that's where what you really want to do is you want to grow your core community so that you can go anywhere else and do whatever you want. So yeah, I'm sure I could do that if it was guaranteed. Obviously, I'm not going to do it if it's not guaranteed, because I'm not doing it right now.
There you go.
So there's that. I mean, usually what happens if there's a game that my community really wants to see me play, and this just happened here last year, really wants to see me play, that I know I'm going to absolutely pull my hair out over, then I set a goal for donations, and if they hit it, I play it. And so last year that was Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, 13-3. Hand of Fate, I had to go back and actually beat it, because when I originally played it, I gave up on the last boss because the game is so fucking bad. And then, Hand of Fate 2, I think, got funded, but the game isn't out yet. So stuff like that I will do because I'm getting guaranteed a certain amount of money, so I know that if I'm going to literally lose time of my life, I'm just going to just absolutely hate every moment of it, I'm at least getting paid for it. So that's my stance on it. But if it was guaranteed viewership, oh, it's easy peasy. Like, if I knew, when people come to me, like I mentioned earlier, and said, you know, why aren't you playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds? I know that if I stream it, my numbers aren't going to suddenly go through the damn roof. So, you know, people think that just because you play a popular game, and I'm very happy that they think that I'm entertaining enough to suddenly just draw 500 people to watch me play PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but it's not going to be the case. That's why I'm not doing it, because I know not only am I probably going to, you know, not be particularly pleased with the game itself, I'm not guaranteed any amount of crazy viewership. Yeah.
Cool. What's your question? You got one?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're not going to answer that guy's question. Then we just totally answered
did.
the guy's
that
question.
Happened.
So
yeah,
there you go.
I was gonna say something, but you were just on such a roll. I thought I'd just let it go.
Just let it go.
Just let it go. I'm gonna pick Xavier Page's question here. Shout outs, Xavier. An alien lands his ship in front of your door. His spaceship looks like an ancient English police call box. Maybe it's Doctor Who. I don't know, but probably, if that's the description. After you open the door to see who knocked, this very human-like thing, because he didn't really finish that, grabs you by the hand and introduces himself as a doctor. Oh, look at that. And invites you on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to anywhere and when in the universe you want. And you'll still be home in time for dinner. Do you take him up on his offer? And if yes, where/when do you want to go? So basically, to summarize that with taking the Doctor Who shit out of there, if you had the opportunity to go anywhere and when, where and when would that be? And this doesn't have to be just Earth. Apparently, you can be wherever the fuck else you want to go. But yeah, that's the short list of that.
What about you?
I'm gonna say that as much as I would love to like go into the future and see how we all decided to off ourselves as a race, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go backwards in time. I've always been super interested in what where my dad grew up, what it was like before, a little bit before dad, and up. If I could watch, basically, where my dad grew up, guys, is here in Nova Scotia. My family on my dad's side were one of the first families that were here back in, I don't know, late 15, early 1600s. So the area where my dad was where our family landed in the province. And so I was always interested in.
What do they do? Come in on a fucking parachute? Where they landed? What do you mean?
Well, when they landed, well, you can say where they landed by boat. It's like you're landing with the boat. Same thing. Yeah. So, so that was that whole deal. And I would love to have seen, where I come from family wise, what that experience was like for them getting here. And then to be able to fast forward to just before my dad was around to see when that area was bustling as a shipbuilding location and a fisheries and everything else, and people were coming there from like the United States, which and that time that's a long ass fucking haul. So they were there for like 2 months because they were rich as shit. And they were just leaving the States to come up and spend time there for a couple of months, and to see when there was all that kind of activity there, I always thought would be super interesting because my family built most of the homes that are in that area that are still standing. So I'd always love to see what that would have been like, and to get an appreciation for that. So I think that would be my place to go and my win.
That's good. Seeing the I think there's probably a lot of
the families came from.
A lot of marijuana back then, probably just a lot of weed.
Think so.
You don't think so? Are we talking are we talking your old man's parents, or like him as like a teen, like a kid?
No, but no, well, like I'm like where he was like before dad, so just before dad, and and a little bit during his childhood, because when dad was still a kid, it was still. Because I mean, your dad's up there in age, right? So I mean, I was thinking maybe. He's 65 years old. This is not like the fucking Stone Age, for God's sake. But like I'm talking 1800s and earlier. I wanted to. So I kind of cheated. It was a two-pointer. I wanted to see when my family first landed here and what life was like for them when they were building some of these houses that are hundreds of years old now.
Oh, and you wanted to whoa. You wanted to see my ancestors build the houses for your parents.
No. This is Canada. Up here on the East Coast, we didn't have any slaves. ran-ass
How sweet the
slaves.
sound.
Just a bunch of white people building houses. But yeah, that would be what I would like to see. That and then fast forward and see what it was like when it was at like its peak.
I hear you. No, that's cool. That would be pretty dope. I actually have pictures of like my parents or my grandparents' parents. Like there's like some old school shit. And it's like some ghetto shit too, man. It's like damn, man, life back then must have been like so simple but so boring. But anyway, I would go all the way back in time to where it all began. I would like to see the birth of the universe. I want to know. I want to see the Big Bang. I want to see where it all began and how it expanded. Obviously, the building of stars and all this stuff takes a long time, but where it just kind of all just that moment in time when something happened. I would love to see, I mean, not even just see, but just to know how it all began. I think that would be just amazing. And it would be a pretty cool alien to be able to give me that vision. So I don't know if I can add too much more to that. It would be cool to see how it all started. It would either be that or going to another planet where the alien knows that there's life. You know, maybe go to the alien planet and see where he comes from or it comes from, and seeing that. But I think overall, I would much prefer to see where it all started. Not just Earth, but the whole everything. Because it had to have started at some point, right?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, as far as science as we know it now, we can go back to, you know, like
everywhere
millions
before,
or billions of a second. But obviously, because math is constrained by time, we can't really go further than you know we can approach zero, but we can't actually. Can't go back before, right? So, which is always a fun conversation because you're like, well, you know, because as the way you look at things, everything is, you know, solid, it's matter, right, and antimatter and everything else as we know it. So if an explosion happened, there was. At some point, there was nothing, then there was something, which is the most mind-fucky thing to think about.
Yep.
So, like, you're trying to think of, like, what...
Well, that's
as
God,
far as the
Adam,
human...
That's God.
Well, I mean, obviously people are... Yeah, but the thing... That's obviously a thing that people will lean back on, you know, whether it's God or some being, whatever the fuck. But, like, because as far as your brain can comprehend, right... You know, we craft like a clay pot. You know, we can be a creator of something. We can take materials that exist around us and turn those materials into something that didn't exist before. We can take a bunch of trees out in the woods, fuck them all up, chop them up into pieces, build a house, and live in that house. And that house was not there before, and it's because we took shit that was existing and turned it into something else. So the Big Bang is we just took...
nothing,
you know,
into
apparently nothing, which doesn't make sense to us because it doesn't exist. You know, we can't comprehend the fact that there was at some point nothing, and then it's all of a sudden there's something. And then I guess the follow up that some people have to that, well, that's the assumption that there was nothing, but there could have always been something. But you're always going to have the nagging issue or the nagging question of, or at least I do, you know, whether you take it philosophically or religiously or whatever, is. If there was always something, why? Why in the fuck would anything be there?
You can make that argument. So even if you're a believer in a god or you know a higher power of some sort, right? I'm not that type of person, but if you just said, well, obviously God created everything, then you go, well, who created God, right? You know, obviously. You always play that thing where it's like, okay, well, if there was nothing and some being made that, then who made the some being? You know,
you
was
just
there
keep
a
going
being
back and
that
back
made
and back
beings
and back.
that made beings?
Exactly.
Exactly. It's at some point,
Yeah.
I think it gets to the point where we're human, and at the end of the day, we are so insignificant, and we're like a small little shit stain. Not even a shit stain. We're like a fucking speck of a speck of a speck of sand, and this infinite ocean of just always expanding. And we're this species that is only going to be here for a very small period of time. Whether we blow ourselves up in 500 years or in 50 years,
matter.
the universe is going to keep going for billions and trillions of years. And the small little tiny slither that we are here, which may seem big to us because it's all we know, because we haven't ventured out anywhere else. And even though we are educated enough via science to know that, you know, we have been here for 65 million years or whatever, the planet anyway, or however old the planet is. It's the simple fact that when you think about how long humans have been here, it is so insignificant and so minuscule that you wouldn't even see it on a graph. Like you wouldn't even. It's almost like we don't exist. It no matter, even if we as a species, we live for 50 million years. It's nothing. Literally fuck all. So for us to even try and comprehend how it all began and to pin it on a god or a god of a god or something, it's just so, in my opinion, so irresponsible and dumb to even think that we could come up with some try and make sense of it in any way, whether it's through science, whether it's through a belief, anything, to think that we could come up with, we can make theories and we can have fun and do all that stuff, and it's great for our imagination, and it's awesome. Like I get bubbly when I think about it, but at the same time, it's like we're fucking dumb. Like we don't, literally, we can't even begin to comprehend. I'm having a hard time even describing how we can't even comprehend.
Yeah. That's why I used the creative example, right? Is because everything that we can observe in our universe is in 3 dimensions. It's how we see things, and it's how we understand things, and we can describe things mathematically and so on in multiple more dimensions than that, and we can play at describing things as best as we can with what we're given. But the irony is that what we are given is based on shit that already existed, and so like the rock and the hard place, the catch-22 is you're describing the pen with the fucking cell phone, but the one can't exist without the other type deal, and you're like just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so it's fun, and it's neat to be able to watch science, evolve and describe what we can figure out anyway, as much as we can. But ultimately, science can only take us so far. As something I've always said, is science literally has an endpoint. There is actually an endpoint to science. You can definitively know everything. The odds of us getting there, pretty much zero. But technically speaking, in my opinion, because of how humans are within the universe, how we occupy the space and how we observe it and how we are capable of observing it and working within it, there's a finite amount of information we can glean from that and actually make sense of, because of how we are. So it's fun to watch us approach that maximum, which we're not even remotely fucking close to, but it's weird sometimes to think about the fact that there is a ceiling that you'll never be able to break through. Like you can't get beyond that point. Some people might disagree with me, but whatever. Science is a descriptive language, and it describes things that we can actually
comprehend.
see.
Yeah.
that we can see, and even some things that we can't see. But the only reason that we can see the things that we can't see is because the things that we can see interact with the things that we can't see.
Yeah, so we know cause and effect. If something's happening over here and we can't see something, then we can assume through science what is making this move this way or whatever, because we know the science of the thing that we can see. So on and so forth. I got a question for you. I got a technical alpha question. Even though I'm not a Patreon supporter, I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Hit me.
Adam, I got a question. It is the question that many people out there, feel as though they know the answer to, but others will go ahead and say, no, moron, that is not correct.
Okay.
All right. Now, this is the $1 million question, Adam, and I need a straight answer from you. All right.
Okay. My body's ready.
Is the Earth flat?
I can't believe you're actually going here. We are 3 hours and 20 minutes into this. This shit's and you drop a flat Earth question? Oh God, we thought we had the longest podcast a couple weeks ago. This shit's about to be shattered.
All right, so
okay, all right, okay.
Oh shit.
All right. Okay. Okay. When I need. Okay. I don't even know how I want to tackle this. Here's how I'm gonna frame this as best as I can. Okay, first of all, my view is obviously the world is not fucking flat.
Thank you. Okay, I was getting a little worried.
Okay,
I was like,
so
wait,
there's the short form answer. The long form answer, I suppose, is that as much as it might pain me that there could be people that honest to God believe that we live on a flat Earth that is surrounded by ice walls, that is with a projected universe above us, and that the Earth or that the sun really doesn't go around us, it just goes over top, like weird crazy shit. As much as it pains me that it exists, okay, I can't hate on the people for putting the amount of time and trying to connect the dots. Their methodology and their understanding is often left field, but at least they're putting, some flat earth, not all of them, but some flat earthers put more effort into understanding the theory that they want to buy into, which in this case is the flat earth, than other people that have beliefs put into those beliefs that they already have themselves. So, I can't hate on the fact that they put the grind in to have what many people might consider to be a crazy idea. And unfortunately, we live in a time where there's so much information out there, and so much of it is misinformation. And some of this misinformation comes from the people who we trust to be truthful all the time, whether that's or who we are supposed to trust to have is truthful all the time. That could be your parents. That could be the government. That could be, well, in this case, especially the government, because we're talking about the flat Earth thing, where apparently the entire planet's collective fucking scientific community and government organizations have colluded to make sure that everybody thinks the world is circular for whatever end, I don't know. I guess it's just control. But it comes, a lot of misinformation and lies come from these people, and so people sometimes then will misplace that and use it as a vehicle to take some really weird off-road shortcuts to get to places that they want to believe in. It's like it's almost like there's, I don't know if there's a name for this. Maybe somebody can figure out if there is a name for it. But there's definitely an effect whereby people will hear something that inherently is super against the grain of everybody else's normalized thinking. and this is definitely a conspiracy. This is more linked to conspiracy theorists than anything else. They'll hear a conspiracy theory, and there's just enough information there that you could almost think that it's real. And if it was real, it would be so, incredible and catastrophic and everything else that you almost want to be on the team that says this is the truth, so that on the off chance that it is, then you can be like, what up, bitch? Who's been saying for the longest time that JFK was assassinated by, like, some other random, group of people, or like it was like for some other, and like there's got to be
or UFOs
something there,
or like aliens were here, or whatever,
But that's it. There's probably a name for that, but that's a lot of it. Is you take that and then you couple it with a lot of people that are now, not all of them are uneducated, but a lot of them are not drastically educated or thoroughly educated.
That's a polite way of saying it.
I guess, right? So you take that, couple it with that, and then put them out into a world where they often get paranoid because of the misinformation coming down from places where you're supposed to be able to trust people. And then mix that with the internet, which makes everything, the whole world, smaller than it already is, and amplifies the amount of misinformation that can exist that looks like legitimate information. Because like we've talked before today, if you say something as a person and you walk out into the street and you start talking and you can say it and do it confidently, you can actually win over a bunch of people if they don't have the information themselves. Just by acting confidently and saying something confidently, they will take you for fact until proven otherwise. And sometimes you can be so fucking good at it that even when they're presented with the information, they will still go with the other guy that was charismatic and sounded confident in what they said.
It's called being a good lawyer. It's called being a good lawyer.
Right? So the internet makes it all worse, and the flat earth thing is just fucking amazing to me.
You know what would be really cool? It'd be really cool for NASA to go to one of these flat earth conspiracists and say, you know what we're going to do is we're going to debunk you. We're going to put you through some training, and we're going to take you into space, and we're going to fucking blow your mind. How cool would it be to have like the leader, like somebody of great, cult like importance?
First, they'd have to pass the test to be able to actually be launched into space without dying. So that would be step one.
Yes, but
then,
how cool would it be to physically take somebody like that and film their entire reaction? Them thinking they're going to hit a wall on the way out, or
Didn't they already do that with somebody though?
I have no idea.
But it was like low orbit or something. It wasn't like
idea.
Honest to goodness.
I couldn't
like
tell
I
you.
thought maybe that happened, but even
if
that's the but yes, coincidentally. So a while ago, Brian, Smitty was over. And after a stream, this is when we were playing Final Fantasy 13 too, we got caught up in the flat earth thing. We were watching all these videos, and it was fucking great. It's absolutely crazy, right? But Brian was like, why don't we just get some rich bastard to send one of these motherfuckers into orbit, and they can see it themselves, right? Like, how easy is that? And even some of the flat earthers are like, well, why don't you guys do that? And we're like, well, bitch, that's fucking expensive.
Elon Musk one day will come up with a solution for the naysayers. But you know what, man, my only opinion about it is, if there are people that truly believe that the earth is flat, they should not have kids. They are with all due respect, dumb. You sugarcoated it. It's
I'm just trying to be nice.
It's ignorance in its most if you're gonna have kids, you're gonna have offspring, and you're gonna teach them that the earth is flat, unless you were brought up in a family that thought the earth was flat and you knew no better, or if somebody presented you with the actual evidence. I mean, you can like physically fucking see the shape of the earth. I could go outside and I can like look at the earth, and you can kind of see, like, even still, you can still even kind of see the fucking globe shape.
If you go to the prairies here in Canada, all right, where it's just flat forever, where the joke is your dog ran away and it took 3 days, okay? Because you can see your dog running away for 3 days because that's how fucking flat it is out there in the prairies. All right? That's flat enough, you can see the earth fucking bend out there. But even when you give them that, they still have some other pseudoscience shit that they come out with.
Well, where's the end,
somebody said,
Adam? Where's the end?
That's just
that'd be the coolest way to commit suicide. Just fucking go to the edge of the world and just fucking jump.
Yeah.
I mean,
why don't you just strap a GoPro to your fucking head and just walk?
Jump.
In a straight,
I mean, that would be the
go.
Nobody's going to Niagara Falls anymore to watch the fucking to watch the falls. Let's go to the edge of the earth and fucking. Can you imagine the view there? Holy shit! I feel like if I was like 90 years old and about to kick it, I'd be like, you know what? Just throw me off the fucking bitch. I want to go and go places. Like why is there no pictures of the edge of the earth? Why isn't I don't get it. Like that
shit would be dope as fuck. If there was an ice wall, that for whatever reason was there, I don't know why it was there, but there was I'd be fucking mind blown. I want to know about that shit. Why hasn't somebody just done it?
Well, Adam, it's in Game of Thrones. Fuck, there's the ice wall.
Yeah, exactly.
They climbed that shit. I want one in real life.
I figured that out.
Goodness.
But I think my favorite thing that I heard from that was, or from this whole thing was, when Felix got sent up, the guy who did the Red Bull jump from
he was like the edge of
so far up, right?
Yeah,
if you went any higher, it was like if you went any higher, you'd be floating off into space because you'd be outside of the fucking gravitational pull of the fucking Earth. So so he falls into this thing, he breaks the sound barrier and all this shit, and he's high enough up. And I remember watching this live on my phone in the car. I pulled off into a Costco parking lot so I could watch the shit. And I'm watching this, and I'm looking, and he's at the edge of this thing. The first thought that came to my mind is, this guy's dead as fuck. He's absolutely dead. 110%. This guy's dead for sure. And he's looking, the second thought I had was, why would you ever fucking do this to yourself?
Because Red Bull and a lot of money.
He's standing at the edge of this capsule, and he's looking down, and the earth is there. It's this big blue-ass fucking ball. And they were over top of, I can't remember where they were in the States, but it was just this big landmass, this brown landmass below them and shit. But you can see the fucking earth bend. You show this video and they'll say, well, that's because they used a fisheye lens. And at that point you go fuck yourself. That's it. We're done. If you are going to say something as asinine as we are using a fisheye lens while somebody hurdles themselves out from that fucking height for no other purpose, then where are we going to go in this conversation? Like, what is it going to take? Maybe we should put them on the first ship to Mars. Pick one of them at random. Fuck it. You're going to Mars. Send them off. And when they turn around and they see that little blue fucking ball go smaller and smaller, if they turn around to the captain and say, man, it looks so flat from here. Kill them. Make sure their genes can't go any further, because that's it. This is a fucking show.
Yeah, dude, it's funny because you've got the professional basketball player going on and talking in front of millions of people like, yo, the earth is flat.
Well, the worst thing about that is there's a bunch of kids listening to that shit, right? Yeah. And they look up to these guys. And so, unless you are 150 fucking 1,000% sure that this earth is flat, and I guarantee you there's still back of his brain going, it's probably not the fucking truth.
Nah, it's probably not.
It's probably not, but I'm going to run with it anyway. Like, and even then, you don't say that shit when there are people that are young looking up to you, because now there's going to be a bunch of kids going to school asking their teachers about this flat earth shit, and the teacher's gonna be like, oh, you have got to be fucking kidding me right now.
Or it's gonna get even worse, and that one teacher is the fucking cuck that thinks the earth is flat and tells the classroom that yes, indeed, it is flat. You see this little flat globe, that flat poster that used to be on like every back of fucking geography of the flat earth. Be like, yeah, that's actually the earth. And, they just fuck everything up. So, yeah.
it kills me. It
so there you have it.
Kills me softly.
There you have it. I had to throw that out there since we were on the topic of space. And I was just like, man, it's just some of the dumbest shit ever.
Flat earth. It just blows my mind. But it plays to so much shit. Like,
You know, hey, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? All right.
What?
For a future cast. All right.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe even a little bit of a DLC cast.
Okay. All right.
You know, maybe the next episode of DLC.
For the times we don't want the 4-hour-long podcast.
Yes. So we should go with the biggest conspiracy theories out there. We should have a cast full we talk about like 3, like, was the moon landing real? You know, was like, you know,
no, because the Earth
Bigfoot
is flat
exist?
and rockets just go horizontally.
All these things. We should do a conspiracy DLC where we just get into it and we're like, we try and debunk and we try to defunk and we just go all out. You know, Illuminati type shit. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Do the UFOs exist? Is there such thing as ghosts? Have you seen one? All those things.
Man.
I think that shit would be fire.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have to maybe do a few of them because I don't think you could just do like all of them in one go.
No. I think it'd be like 3. You could do like 3 in like a 2-hour, 3-hour thing.
Man.
Because let's be real, we're like a 3-hour podcast, so you know.
Yeah. We actually, we run deep on that one.
So
just the flat Earth shit.
Yeah, it hurts. I know it hurts, dude. I know it hurts. So it is what it is. But you know what else hurts, or what's gonna hurt, is my body when I have to wake up.
You getting up?
And 5.5 hours to go yard sailing. So
yeah,
we should probably start to cut this. We should do our thank yous.
We should wrap it up. I'm gonna pull one more because it's a really short answer.
Oh my God!
No, don't worry. No, I don't even have to answer it.
All right,
this is only for you. This is only for you. Okay.
Well, it doesn't make it that much better, but sure. Okay.
Because it's been 1,000 times it's been asked. I have to ask. Adam Barlow asks, during Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from LAGTV from December 24th, 2010, Jeff says at the 9-minute 30 to 9-minute 40 mark that if they reached 100,000 subscribers, he would tattoo LAGTV on his body. My question to Jeff is, where is our tattoo?
Fuck that. You know what, dude? It's just not happening because you know what? In my mind, I was thinking if we stay at 100,000, because now we're on our way down to below 100,000. I think we'll eventually get here. And I just didn't want to have to do a tattoo removal. I'll tell you what.
Oh no. Don't say something stupid now.
I'll tell you what. And I mean it. Oh, fuck it.
You don't mean it. You don't mean it.
Never mind.
Stop it now. Cut that shit. Don't finish that thought.
Oh, I was thinking Patreon for a minute. I was thinking fat stretch goals.
Oh,
I'm not getting caught in the moment. I'm not getting caught in the moment. I see the chat going crazy right now. I'm not doing it, Jeff. No, I'm not doing it, boys. I'm not doing it. You know what? Maybe when we get closer to some of our other stretches, I'll make some ridiculous thing and I'll get Technical Alpha or I'll get Mr. Popo on my body. Oh, shit.
Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been such a roller coaster of where else can you listen to two guys talk about streaming and then fucking spin that into flat Earth theory? Really, I hope that was entertaining for everybody that made it this far into the podcast.
Yeah, it was a little different. We were just kind of talking about streaming. It was just chill.
Yeah,
we had no subjects. You know, Panic was out of town. I was like, Adam's like, what do you want to talk about? I was like, you know what, dude? Let's just fucking turn it on, talk about streaming, YouTube.
Sure.
Just shoot the shit. It's just been chill. It's been chill. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
But yeah, hopefully that was enjoyable for everybody who listened in and watched this evening. We're gonna wrap it up there because Jeff has to get up early and I have to get up relatively early tomorrow as well. I've got a big day ahead and I still have to edit this podcast because I won't be here all day tomorrow. So I've actually got to get a move on.
Where are you going?
I've got to go. Dad's out of town. I've got to mow the lawn while he's gone because it's gonna rain for like 5 more days. And then it's my grandmother's 94th birthday.
Oh my goodness. Jeez.
94th birthday. So the family's going over to celebrate her 94th. She's been heart failure for 2 years now, and she's had like bronchitis and all this other shit. Refuses to die. Literally refuses. Like, she wakes up in the beginning of the day and says, "Fuck it, I'm going another one." And that's just
says,
every single
not
day.
Today. Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
94 for Novanan. So we're gonna do that. So I'll be out. So I'm gonna edit this podcast and get it ready to go, and then go from there. You're gonna get up and go try and find the next bundle of awesome.
I gotta get us games for our damn fucking retro verses.
I know you gotta get up that stack and some controllers that work.
Yes.
That's like priority number one. Like, do you have any of them controllers?
I'll find some.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to, of course, read the names off here as we do every week. But before that, thank you again for listening. We'll be back next Friday. Same place and everything else as usual. Keep those ratings coming. Head on over to Patreon so that you can get in on some of these sweet action that we've got for you and help us get to these stretch goals to produce even more content for you. And yeah, let's head on over to the Patreon producers. As always, gonna start with Beastall, who is at $1,000 right now.
Damn.
$1,000.
Damn.
Unbelievable. So Beastall, huge props. Mr. Miyagi not fucking around either at $250.
That's
and
serious.
neither of the rest of these guys, to be completely honest with you. At the $100, we've got Postal Panda, Draco, Adam B, Toto Steel, Naily, J.A., Derek P, Jonathan A, Fry C, and Ice Wolfie, all hitting it hard. Thank you so much to those guys and all of our Patreon people, because you are making this thing tick, and tick well it is indeed. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Technical Alpha. I believe the third guy, #3rdguy, will be back next week, so we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming, where we will be up for episode 10. It's number 10.
That's big.
We might have to think of something big for that. I don't know what that will be, but we have to come up with something special for number 10.
Yep.
As we've made it this far. So you can look forward to that. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, have yourself a good weekend. Enjoy it. Have a good week as well. And peace.